What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, the award-winning Nintendo podcast, backed by Max EVs and IVs. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and joining me, as always, is my best buddy, Bryce DeWitt.
Hello.
Hello. That is not a furphy, Bryce. So what's going on here?
It's a Cooper's XPO. Leave me alone.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I guess a bit of a celebration drink, considering this. Throughout the whole year, we're finally here. We finally got Pokémon Sword and Shield, and we're sitting down for our review discussion.
Yep.
After a long weekend of pretty much doing nothing but playing Pokemon.
Yeah. How much time did you put in?
I ended up putting in about 45 hours.
Yeah, I'm at about 35.
Yeah.
Only because I had that extra work shift that really stuffed me around. So, but
work always gets in the way.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I would have had at least another 5 hours in there if it weren't the case. So, yeah.
I did get lucky. Was it Friday got cut short because of the weather? So I got home about 3 o'clock, and because it was a bit of a late start, it allowed me to just unlock the game at midnight and play for 4 hours.
Yep.
So I got 4 hours in straight away, and it was funny too because I was waiting for it to unlock, and games typically unlock about 11:30 here in South Australia.
Yep.
So I'm trying to unlock it, and it's not unlocking. I'm like, oh, maybe it is 12. I don't know. So I picked up my Switch Lite and just started playing Luigi's Mansion for a bit. Then it popped up on my Switch Lite. Someone's playing Pokemon Sword. I'm like, oh! So I just like whoosh, like mushing the A button on my Pro Controller and bang into it. Yeah. So I guess this is going to be a review discussion, and the first part will be spoiler free. So no story spoilers, none of that stuff. But later on, we will be going to spoilers, Pokemon, Endgame, all of that fun stuff, and we will let you know when that happens, and there will be something in the show notes with a timestamp as well, telling you what's going on there.
That's right.
And we do have to tell you that this one copy of Pokemon Sword was provided by Nintendo Australia.
It certainly was.
Which Bryce got to claim.
Yeah, because you really couldn't wait. Yeah. So
I just wanted whatever the quickest option was.
Yep.
And I want it preloaded, ready to go, because I knew if I got home the next day and I had to put in the code, download it, that's too much time, Bryce. No wasting time.
No.
If you want to do 45 hours in one weekend, you've got
really got to put it in there.
You've got to really push it. Yeah.
Yeah. You got a 10-hour head start on me in that regards.
Was that how long it was?
Yeah, 10-hour head start.
Yeah.
So you got a couple of hours in at night, and then I got mine approximately 9:30 in the morning. So yeah.
I've got to say too, like, I don't often do that for games. So I absolutely like smash them once they come out.
Yeah.
But I think it's without going into it straight away, it's a testament to how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I want to sort of discuss the lead up to this game before we get into it.
Yeah, we probably should. Yeah.
Because it was a wild ride. It was basically our whole year, basically discussing news that came out about it, whether it was the leaks later on or the initial reveal and the Pokemon being sort of revealed, and obviously the National Dex, what happened at E3.
Yep.
So back in February 2019, the 27th, it says here, they were first announced, and a lot of people were sort of underwhelmed by the initial reveal. Just like, it's typical Pokemon. And it was only like revealed later that Pokemon would be in the overworld and the wild area is a thing, and that's basically what a lot of us were waiting for. And then at E3, sort of more news come out, and that's when the National Dex thing happened. And it was a real, I guess it hit Bryce and I hard because the last few generations of Pokemon, we've sort of been seeing the shortcuts here and there, and that's where we were like, oh no, this is
terrible.
This is going to happen again. And throughout the rest of the year, we're, all right, we'll wait until we play the games and see whether this is a shortcut or a necessary evil to get the things we want in there, which are like post game content and all of that.
I would like to bring up on that subject, I suppose, and I'll probably touch on it later. That still is a pretty big negative about these games, I feel, especially for people like you that have living decks up and ready to go case. But we'll talk about that more in the spoiler discussion.
Yep. So just moving out throughout the year, sort of the the fan base was split. There's people that don't care, whether they're casual Pokemon fans or they are hardcore Pokemon fans, but they just don't care, and that's obviously great. I wish I was in that camp.
Yeah.
And then there's the part which weren't so happy about it, which was pretty much you and me. But I'm really disappointed by all the sort of toxicity within the Pokemon fan base. And,
the community's been shocking. Look, I believe there is a genuine reason to be angry, but when it came to stuff like death threats that led to events being cancelled, that led to, people who are working on this game to be seriously, concerned for their own well-being and...
Yeah, not on.
No, it's not on.
Not on in any sense of the word.
No,
right?
not. It doesn't matter what community you're in. It's bullshit. And look, at the end of the day, it's not their fault. They're under a time crunch. They're in a small team that refuses to expand, and they've got to do what they've been told to do. That is what they've got to do.
Because every now and again, Pokemon tweets something, and there's someone saying, saying something pretty vile. I'm like, so I click on their profile just to say, like, what type of person out there does this? Someone who cares so much about Pokemon to be this passionate about it, and then go and insult the creators. And it's usually people with no profile, no followers, barely following anyone, and it's just a wall of negativity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's not going to get us anywhere. It's going to be a civil conversation about the series that we all love.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
And it's sort of a climax right at the end when all the leaks were coming out. People were seeing like how long it takes to complete the game, how many Pokemon are in the Pokedex and everything, and that's when it was getting like real bad. And it was starting to affect like my. It wasn't affecting my excitement for the games, but it was definitely like it was putting a. It was like nulling the, enjoyment of waiting for new Pokemon games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And was it Thursday, the embargo lifted for Pokemon Sword and Shield reviews from the big websites like IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, Nintendo Life, all of that. And the Metacritic has averaged out at about an 81. And watching all these reviews initially... they vary from IGN, which is a 93 out of 100. And Cassie DeFreitas says that Pokemon Sword and Shield are the best games in the series, streamlining the most tedious traditions without losing any of the charm. And like initially when I sort of saw that review, I was like, oh shit, that seems pretty high for sort of the information we're seeing.
Yeah.
Same with GameSpot and sort of, I guess... Yeah, I guess it just goes down from there. But I must say, playing the games and seeing all of the negative things in context, I really do agree with IGN's review and GameSpot's review, putting it at a 9. I might not necessarily put it that high, just for some things in there, but man, I really did enjoy this game. I
enjoyed it, but I do think this game has glaring issues, and that there is a bit of magic lost along the way that previous games had, that this one does not. Again, I think my opinion is better off left to the spoiler discussion, so I'm not going to say anything, but I would probably be closer to say higher 7s, low 8s, if anything. Because at the end of the day, there's differences. They're not exactly good differences. There's cuts. They're not good cuts. Yeah, I think you're right. The information we were seeing is not as half as jarring as we probably thought it was going to be. But if it was, then I'd be down there. 4, whatever.
4.
Yeah, like low. But yeah, no, I've enjoyed the entire way through. So yeah.
So I played through the story and I did like. I guess it took me about 21 hours to complete, and then I put in like another 20 on top of that, so there is a lot to do. But I guess touching on the story in the spoiler-free segment of this show, I guess roughly, what did you think of the story, and did you enjoy it or whatever?
Look, it has similar ideas to Sun and Moon, which I think is the big thing for me. Like, I understand that's sort of the route they want to go. And there's good ideas that it has that it's unique, but I feel like Pokemon's starting to fall into this formulaic story building.
I mean, to be fair, what do you mean starting to? It's been it's been like that for years.
Yes and no. I would argue like games like the Gen 5 games have been, a little deeper.
Those ones were, but the rest, they're all pretty much cut from the same cloth, pretty much. We'd have to go into it here, but yeah.
We're not going into it here. Yeah, we're not going into it here. That's why I said, like, my opinions on the story in the game, like, there's a lot of spoiler context in my thoughts, but I don't think it was the strongest story. I don't think it was the weakest either. I think that kind of lends to Last Generation. Last Generation was really weak for me.
Well, yeah. Well, personally for me, I really, really enjoyed the story, and not because it was like the most amazing thing with a huge revolution at the end. Like, oh my god, that was crazy. What it was just a real basic story about competing in the gym challenge.
And I thought that was good. Yeah.
And like a lot of the time, like, completing, you're just walking into like these buildings, battling people, getting badges. There's not like it's not made to feel all that special in past games. Whereas this, it's like drummed up and it's like the main draw of the story.
Yeah, and I agree with that, yeah.
And it's there just to be the backbone of like what is so enjoyable at the Pokemon games. It's about catching, collecting, and training Pokemon. And that's that's the emphasis of the story. It's not about, there's Team Aqua trying to raise the sea. There's not Team Galactic trying to open portals to other dimensions. There's no Team Plasma trying to do other crap. There's for the most part, there is none of that. And I absolutely loved it. It's just it's pretty straightforward. And the emphasis is put on exploring the wild air, exploring the routes, catching the new Pokemon and all of that. I really liked it, how it sort of, I guess, took a back seat. And it wasn't just... Because Sun and Moon, for me, they just tried to hit you with story, talk, and it took everything I loved about the games away from it. Just exploring and exploration.
Yeah, I think that in Sun and Moon lends more towards linearity. I feel like Sun and Moon could have been done really well if it wasn't so linear, but it is very linear in comparison. Even to this, it's fairly linear.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hear opinions like Sun and Moon were my favorite games. I'm like, really?
That's fine. Yeah.
Holy crap. I can't believe that that's a thing. But I suppose, again, there's obviously people that probably have only been playing as early as X and Y sort of thing. So, but look, I agree with the gym leaders and such. I feel like gyms are the main draw, and they are absolutely like the hype moments of the story and all that. But there is something that rides in the background, and it just keeps going. And they don't want to make a big deal of it, but it is there. And I feel like sprinkling it in there, if you really just wanted to tell a story about the league, then just do that. I feel, not add in all the extra stuff, because if it's going to ride a back seat, then might as well just put more emphasis on the gyms, the challenge, the road, to becoming champion.
I don't feel like that extra stuff you're talking about was that big a deal though. Like, it wasn't like a huge takeaway from what they're doing with the gym challenges.
Maybe, but we'll talk about it after.
So yeah, the characters being the gym, like with the gym leaders and all that. What did you think of like the gym battles and all that? I really, really enjoyed the sort of emphasis on the gyms. How
gyms were great.
When you go in there, like, it actually feels like you're walking into a stadium.
Yeah.
And with like the sound design of like the crowd and everything, and when you Gigantamax and Dynamax, with like the eerie music in the back.
And I mean, I like that too, and I like the gym leaders' designs, and they sort of have more of an implication in general than a lot of Pokemon games. They've got a lot more character, and they sort of build up over time. You'll see them a little more here and there. Yeah, wobble. Anyway,
he wobbled his head.
It is, yeah. Christ. It's all phenomenal. The gym challenges and everything really lend to the personality of the gym leaders, and throughout, just these characters do become more of a pop out than, again, I suppose what Sun and Moon did last generation. Sun and Moon, it was just like, yeah, they popped in the worst way. These guys aren't like that. They're sort of like, they come in, they have their 5 minutes of fame, but you'll see them down the road again and, learn more about them. And that lends particularly well into the league cards as well, where they've got info on them in the back and all that stuff. And you've got like that little bit of extra sort of reading material about them, which is awesome. And going through it, I guess the journey of becoming a Pokemon champion is fantastic. It's better displayed than in most games because obviously it is like the TV defining event of the year for them. It's a sport. So you look at it in that sense in general.
Yeah. And that's something I've always wanted for the Pokemon games. Like
that's something that's always been advertised as in like the anime, whatever it may be, but it's never really actually happened like that.
I remember talking with someone, whether it was you or not, like, I'm like, how cool would it be if there was like, it was like a Pokemon league, like it was like a football league, and like it's exactly what this game's doing.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Exactly, yeah. And even Gigantamax and Dynamax, they lend to that extremely well. I wasn't too impressed with these mechanics to begin with this mechanic in general to begin with, because I thought, well, hey, you've just removed Z moves and Megas, which kind of takes that out of it. And to a degree, I do feel like they could have still kept those designs they scrapped with Gigantamax, but they didn't. So, I mean, tough loss, I guess. But it is still, a real spectacle when they sort of come out in the middle of a gym battle, and then all of a sudden it's just the crowd sort of toughs down just a little bit, but they're all in shock and awe, and the music pipes down just for a little moment as they're Dynamaxing.
Yeah.
And then it picks back up again.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah, it's really good.
It makes it feel awesome.
It does, yeah. It does indeed feel like a big epic.
And a lot of those major battles, it does that as well.
Yeah.
Sort of the way the sound works. And even it makes some battles into almost like story moments and cutscenes with like the way your characters talk in between turns. Like your rival does it a lot, whether it's like, oh, you did a critical hit, or later in the game where characters are actually like telling you story plot through actual battles, and it's not just like mushing A before and after the battle. You can do it during the battle as well.
I like that, but I honestly just got sick of Hop's super effective speech over and over again. Wow, you know your type matchups by now. 20 years playing Pokemon.
Well, stop using super effective attacks.
Just fucking, yeah, right.
Just like, choose a neutral attack. Oh, that'll shut him up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah,
he has no faith in you. That's his problem. He's like, is that surprise every time? You must be doing something wrong.
Well,
he must just think you're a silly Billy.
Well, now that we sort of talked about the story briefly, I guess, how about we talk about the initial characters? I'd say probably follow embargo reviews only up to Gym 4, just to be safe.
Yeah. So yeah, your rival Hop. You don't like Hop? He talks too much, or
Hop? I don't have a problem with, actually. Like, the thing is I hate how many times you battle him.
That's another thing with like recent Pokemon games. They just chuck the rival battles in after every gym, just to be like,
and they're always in your face.
Yeah,
always.
It's just pretty much like filler, or just to make an easy way to make sure you're still on level.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It's been a huge problem since X and Y, and like I think Hop lends to that problem, but I don't think he's the most annoying rival either.
Well, it was a big problem in Black and White even back then. You got two rivals and they want to battle you all the time.
Yeah, but then Black and White 2 sort of steered away a little bit from that.
You reckon?
Yep.
I can't even remember Black and White 2.
Yeah, it wasn't that intrusive. You only had Hugh. And Hugh wasn't that much of a problem. I think he battled him maybe 3 or 4 times at the most throughout the entire thing. But I feel like Hop, if we're talking in the space of the 3D games, I feel like Hop is probably the least annoying one.
Oh yeah.
Surprisingly,
I actually really like Hop's character arc as well.
Oh yeah, I think it's good too. Like all the way up into the end, I think it's really good. I just hate how many times you got to battle him. Yeah. But then you've got your other 2 rivals, which is Bede and Marnie.
Mm-hmm.
I fairly like Beat's evolution throughout the whole thing.
I quite like his character arc as well.
Yeah, so do I. And Marnie's is pretty good too.
Yeah.
I like Marnie as a character in general, so that sort of works out for me. Just her background and stuff like that is really good.
Just the semi-celebrity who doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's just like, stop it, guys. Like, just let me do this normally, God.
And Beat, it's like, when you beat him, he's like, oh, I'll let you win. And it's like, your Pokemon suck, dude.
Yeah.
Your Pokemon suck. I can't even take you seriously.
No.
Try and insult me.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you're insulting me.
Try better next time, you loser.
But like the rivals in this one, there's 3 of them, and I feel like Marnie and Beat definitely aren't that intrusive. I feel like you see them a lot less. I just feel Hop is, mainly because you have to battle him so many times, and that's really annoying. I see a lot of comments where they're just like, he's around every corner, it's extremely annoying. And then at the same time, I'm just like, please go back and play Sun and Moon and tell me that Hop is as intrusive as the characters in that one. How and Lily, around every corner. Gladion, they're much more intrusive, I feel.
Yeah.
So I feel like they did improve on that with this game. He's there, he has his character arc, you see him all the time, yes, but he's not half as annoying. He's not telling you what's what and what's where. He's not like, he says, hey, here's the Pokemon Center once. And a lot of that little dialogue as well is skippable.
Yeah. So like at the start, it's very it's different to what you expect from Pokemon games in the past, where it's choose the Pokemon, here's the battle. And it still lets you do that if you are a new player and you don't know how to catch a Pokemon and all that.
Yeah,
but the initial sort of trip down Route 1, and you have 5 Pokeballs already, so you're able to catch a Pokemon, and that's what I did straight away. I wanted the Rookie D and
caught it
straight away. But if you don't know how to catch it and you just walk through the route, and you have the option to find out how to catch them. But someone like myself, I've caught a Pokemon before. Yeah. You're able just to say no and just move on with your day.
And the same thing with the Pokedex as well. Like you're talking to Sonia, which is one of the new characters, and she's sort of just like, do you know how Pokedex works? It's like, yes. It's like, okay, well, I don't need to tell you then. Here you go.
Yeah,
it's like, cool.
Thank you.
It's like, great. Yeah, fantastic. And then you move on. You've caught that Pokemon in Route 1, and you catch up to Hop, and he's like, we should fill out our teams. And Leon's like, I see you've already caught a Pokemon before, so you don't need to know. It's all good. Great. It's like, thanks. And it's especially good considering that even if you do say to characters in X and Y and Sun and Moon, they were like, they would tell you anyway. They're just like, don't you just, throw the Pokeball after you hit it down lower health and, whatever. It's like, here, let me show you just in case you forgot how to play Pokemon.
Well, the thing about Sun and Moon was that not only do they say, here's how you catch a Pokemon, they ask you what you have for tea, what's for dinner, do you want to come to my place after, what's your favourite colour? It's like, just shut up.
Yeah.
I can't stand the dialogue in that game.
Yeah.
It's all such a waste of time.
It is, yeah. Yeah, but it's out the window here.
Thank God.
There is still dialogue, but it's usually related to what you're actually doing. It's not crushed down to very basic stuff and trying to fill out your adventure because it is really such just a small area. I feel like they did a pretty decent job with it anyway. So there's also Sonia, who you see on your adventure pretty regularly.
Professor Magnolia's assistant.
Yep, and also her granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
And she's prompted to go on an adventure when the professor's like, those young kids are going on an adventure, why don't you go on one? She's like, all right. So she goes on an adventure with you, and you see her pretty often, and she becomes a huge part of the story because she's sort of,
and she is a fun character.
She's the lore buff.
Yeah, and it's cool as well that you do know that she has backstory with Leon, who is the champion.
Yeah.
And that, they were rivals back in the day. And it's sort of like, leaves it up to the imagination of like what that might have been like. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Leon, the champion.
Sponsored by Game Freak.
Sponsored by literally everybody on that cape. What do you think of Leon as a champion?
I really enjoy him. He's a lot different to like past champions. Typically,
he's very involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's involved from literally the very start. It literally gives you your first Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I like how he's involved in the story. Like, was it like Ruby and Sapphire? You see Steven halfway through the game. No, actually, it's not halfway through the game. It's a bit earlier than that.
Just a little bit earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, and you do like a bit of a mission for him and all that, but you don't really know the champion necessarily until you battle him.
Yeah.
Whereas from the very start, this is Leon. He's the champion. He's a celebrity. Everyone loves him. Everyone loves his Charizard. He's an iconic Pokemon, and he's a great character. And sort of, going through the game, you're sort of like thinking to yourself, like, is he a good boy? But yeah, I better not say more than that.
Is he a good boy?
He's a good boy.
But I enjoy him too. I still think he's probably a little bit boisterous for my liking, but otherwise I think he's alright.
So yeah, I quite like it that he's like just.
The thing is,
it's
it's
a real showman.
Everybody has their own little character arc. Anything that's important has their own character arc. They're not just there to be rivals. Like Hopper's the same thing, Marnie's the same thing, Beat is the same thing, and then Leon is also the same thing. Or a lot of the people you interact with have, some close connections with Leon, or they've been rivals to him in the past, like Raihan, who you see, in the start. Like in the literal opening movie to the game, when Leon and Raihan are having their battle, like they have a connection. They're rivals, and you meet Raihan, and you just sort of go through that.
And I think these characters, months and years from now, I will still remember them.
Yeah.
Whereas like X and Y, I couldn't tell you one rival's name, except for Serena, who's like, if you choose the guy, the female character's Serena.
That's right.
And I know, like at the end of that, like she admits that you're a better trainer, and it has like all this emotional music, and I sort of remember that. But apart from that, like, there's the guy who wants to make his Pokemon dance and all this. I'm like, what the hell?
There's a guy with a really big afro haircut that who's Mr. Smarts, and then there is that one girl that has a moment with you under the fireworks, and then
the awkward moment. Yeah. It's like,
just. I feel like there's another one there somewhere that I'm completely forgetting. Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah.
And that's the thing with Pokemon. Like, for the most part, it's not about the characters and like the fantastic writing that goes on. But I think these games with the characters, it does enough to make you care about each individual one.
Yeah, I think it nails it all right. Yeah. Even the gym leaders, again, they've got a lot more involvement in their own personal way, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess next up would be some of the new Pokemon. Or I guess we'll just talk about the ones that, have been announced, and we won't go into like the non-announced ones.
I can't remember exactly what's been announced, so.
But I think we are safe to do the 3 starters now, the evolutions. I think we are safe now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because if people would have been posting on social media and everything, like I haven't posted any pictures just in case I upset someone.
Yeah.
But people are doing it. So what do you think of the new evolutions? So we've got Sobble, Final Evolution.
Inteleon.
See, I'm still rusty on their names. I can't even remember the Grookies. Jesus.
Rillaboom,
yeah. I just...
Inteleon, Rillaboom, and Cinderace.
Cinderace, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just like useless with friggin' names. But yeah, what do you think of them? Obviously, you're most familiar with Insignions.
What?
Or whatever else. What was its name?
Inteleon.
Inteleon.
Yeah.
I've mixed them up.
Yeah. Cinderace and Inteleon, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
I like Inteleon, just for that spy aesthetic, I guess. The unique move is cool. It's calm. It's collected type of deal.
Snipe shot.
That's right. He's been a pretty decent powerhouse, and I've used him whenever I've been in a pinch and been like, I don't have anything for this type of matchup, sort of thing, and he's succeeded in it relatively well. So yeah, it's probably my favorite out of the 3. I'll give him that.
Yep. Yeah, I chose Grookey. I got Rillaboom.
Rillaboom.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know why I cannot remember their names, for the love of God. But I really like him. His drum does look a little bit odd, but I've gotten used to it. I'm like, no one has a drum that shape. I know this is Pokemon, but whatever. He uses it to attack, not do fancy music, I guess. But yeah, he's been a great ally throughout the game. Another real big attack powerhouse. Whenever I need someone just knocked out with where grass affects it pretty well, he's always there to do the job for me.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us chose Cinderace, but on my next playthrough, when my copy of Shield comes in, I'm really keen to give Scorbunny a go because I really quite like it. I know you're not too hot on it because it's another standing up fire.
Another bipedal, yeah.
Yeah, another standing up fire type. But I actually really like it, and it's
I think its signature move is cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's a really good move.
It's the best animated signature move out of the three, I think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Because when it did it in game...
Surprise. Sorry.
When it did it in game, it's just like, I'm like, holy crap, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really strong too. It's only got 5 PP, but it's 120 attack, which is huge. I know our Rillaboom's only 80. I don't know what Snapshot is.
90.
90. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So
90, but it stops effects like Torment or Taunt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can use it through those type of skills.
Yeah.
Or Follow Me, etc.
When you're actually going through the game and they're trying to taunt you, you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I was only going to attack you anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, the starters, I think they're pretty decent. I don't know if they're the strongest set of starters we've seen. But it's one of those things. It's only been the first weekend. We might really grow to love them, or
all I know is that the hidden abilities of Inteleon and Cinderace are really good. That's all I know.
But you don't know what they are?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, let us know.
Inteleon's a sniper. Yeah. So free crit. Yeah. You know, just absolutely smash it. Fantastic. And then Cinderace's has similar. It's similar to what Greninja had, except it adapts to the move you're about to use before you use it, so everything can be stab. So if you load up Cinderace with all different types of attacks, you can float between them as you please, and because he's really fast, he doesn't have a problem with getting an attack before someone. So if somebody's like, oh, water type, that'll take care of him. It's like, no, it won't, because I'll switch to a dark type or something, to stop that super effective hit. It's really really good.
Now you bring it up, I actually was looking at it, and I remember thinking, oh crap, that's pretty
strong.
Because Greninja had this pretty similar thing where he could change his types. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I'm not sure about Rillaboom's though.
Yeah, I'm just looking it up now. So it's Grassy Surge. I'll look up what that does. Grassy Surge creates a low-lying grassy field, like the move Grassy Terrain. When the Pokemon enters battle, it restores HP of grounded Pokemon each turn and increases power of grass type attacks. So yeah, that's really good too.
Yeah. Good if you want just a power spike immediately. Yeah. Yeah.
And he comes out and he can heal himself, and
that's right. Yeah.
Heal others too, I think.
Well, he heals anything that's grounded, so you can technically heal your enemy as well. So
yeah.
But I mean, it powers up grass type moves, so there you go. That should be enough to take him down anyway. Yeah,
unless you're trying to verse a grass with a grass, it's like, what are you doing?
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So might just leave the rest of the Pokemon for the spoiler section.
I think so.
We'll dig into most of them.
Yep.
But yeah, let's dig into one of the biggest aspects of the game, which is the wild area. Mm-hmm. So you get access to this about 1.5 or 2 hours into the game, once you've basically completed the tutorial section, the opening of the game. And this place is game changing.
It is
game changing for the series. And while it may look basic, and people had an issue with the look of the trees and all of that, and not to take away from that, like, the graphics are downgraded in this area.
They are.
But it doesn't take away from the immersion, and it's so much fun just being let go and exploring this place, collecting items, doing max raid battles, just running into powerful Pokemon in the area.
Yeah.
Which when you first go in there, everyone sees the Onix to the left of the opening gate.
Yeah.
And I think most people, unless you started with Score Bunny, are going to be like, all right, I'm going to try and take that thing down. And it's level 27 and you're about level 13 or something like that. And the thrill of being like, all right, I'm going to take this thing down. And I went through a few potions, had to use one revive. I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking this thing down, man. And once you take it down and you get all your XP and all your Pokemon go up by 2 levels, I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I knew going in, I was a bit concerned about sort of the mechanic that Pokemon are non-catchable until you get that certain badge. Because I thought, going into it, I was thinking, it's going to take away from the thrill of running into a big Pokemon.
Beating something big, yeah.
Yeah, beating something big. But I think the thrill is still there without catching it, just beating it and getting the experience boost.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I guess, like, say, it's an example, it's pretty much the same thing as, say, Breath of the Wild, where you go up to a big, powerful enemy, like, I don't think I can do this. I've just got my friggin' underwear on and a stick, and you ended up taking it down, and you get access to its awesome sword or awesome weapon it's got. It's a similar thing in this, but it's XP, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Especially those lower levels.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you, because I know you had an issue with that too, because we were talking about sort of that mechanic. Do you feel like that was an issue for you in the game when you were actually playing?
I do have an issue now. So, after I'd learned that this was the thing that concerned me most was shiny locking. So you'd be locked out of a shiny pretty much immediately if you tried to tackle anything that was your level, over the level that you had.
And that's so, a shiny doesn't pop up and you're like, oh, I can't catch it, and that would be really, really upsetting.
Now the thing is apparently they did code this so that it wouldn't happen. If you run into run into a Pokemon that's too strong for you, it will not be shiny, will not ruin your chances.
Yeah,
all that stuff. It will not disappoint you and depress you beyond immeasurable. But today it was found that it can happen with the static Pokemon. So you know how everybody sees that Onix or that Snorlax, that can still happen with them. They did not code them out of it.
Oh, okay.
So they can still be shiny.
Oh, the Pokemon in the overworld can be shiny.
Those ones, yeah.
All right. So there was an example of that shown. Someone found one and recorded.
Somebody found a Dreadnought. And it was a really sick-looking shiny too. And, yeah. It's the ones that aren't in the grass. It's the ones that are just on the road. And
oh, okay.
If you can find them shiny while you're still under that badge lock. And that is awful.
Yeah, well, there's 1 in 4,000 and something chance of depression then, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, like, at the same time, just running into something like that would be absolutely depressing as hell. So I'm glad I'm done with the game and I don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah. I know there's like a shit ton of people who went into the first route and managed to pull a shiny Wooloo or Rookidee or...
Yeah, I saw some videos of like people running in and getting a black Wooloo. I'm like,
immediately.
Just like
first encounter as soon as you get Pokeballs, black Wooloo. It's like, whoa.
Thank God you actually get Pokeballs like straight away in this as well. Otherwise you'd be like, all right, cool. Because in past Pokemon games it's like, oh, I'll kill it.
I do feel like it does still bug me a little bit. Only because there is some stuff where you sort of just walk in there, and it'll be like, I don't know, say you run into like a 36 Duskull or something and you're like, oh, it's too high for you. But if you wait 24 hours, you'll find a level 12 one anyway and you're just like, that's annoying. I could have just had it 12 hours earlier. And if I could catch it at these levels, why is it a problem? Sort of thing. I do understand the concept of it, and I think it's a good way from getting people off from going way too far into it without, sort of juxtaposing like a big roadblock. You're free to explore everything, and that's great. But I do feel like there is some downsides to it that just sort of does take you out, where it's just like, well, it's too strong, and you're like, it's too strong to throw a Pokeball at it, like, of all things, the thing that we can just do to literally anything. Yeah.
Oh, going into it, I was like, it's a bit disappointing, but actually playing the games, I'm like, for me personally, it doesn't bother me. Hearing about that shiny thing, like, that would be pretty upsetting, but at the same time, like, that's just unlucky. I don't think that's a reason not to do it necessarily.
I guess so. I just feel like I don't think I've I don't think I've gained anything by having the ability to catch these Pokemon. I did a surprise trade like immediately at the start of the game, and I ended up with a level 67 Pokemon. So if I can get it through that method, then is it really a problem?
Mm.
You know, that's already higher than anything in the wild area outside of max raid battles.
Yeah.
So is it really that much of a problem? I can still get those high level Pokemon anyway. I can literally just have them traded to me. If somebody runs into it in their game and they're like, oh look, it's this thing. It's like, oh, I want one of them. They'll just catch it to you and trade it to you. So is it really a roadblock? You know, it is just kind of a nuisance.
Yeah.
If anything, because at the end of the day, you're gonna get it.
Yeah. We were talking before, like it would be cool, or there are more elegant ways to sort of work it in, but you can still catch them. That carrot on the end of the stick is still there, but you know, it might be reduced catch rates, or if you do catch a Pokemon that's over your gym badge level, that they won't listen to you.
That's right. Yeah.
Mechanics that have previously worked for traded Pokemon, so that there are ways around it rather than just being like, no, you can't catch them.
Yeah. No, you're not allowed. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it didn't affect my enjoyment at all. I sort of just went through it and just.
Oh, it caught me off guard a couple of times where I looked at it and I'm like, really? It's one level above my gym badge level. That's just fucking annoying.
I mean, just come back and catch it then.
Yeah, but the thing is I'm like, maybe I wanted to add it to my party now. I'm level 35. All my party's like level 38. This thing's level 36, but it's too strong for me. What? Why? Why is it too strong for me? That makes no sense. I spent so much...
You didn't get the badges, you noob.
Just listen, I spent so much time in that area, and it was almost a little bit problematic in some cases, because it's an area I didn't want to leave. And I just kept doing raids after raids after raids because I enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. And I loved exploring it and doing all that. It was fantastic. But at the end of the day, I was getting to the point where I'm like, I'm over the level of like things that they're blocking me out of.
Yeah.
And that did get frustrating because I'm just like, I can kill this thing. It's like, it's not going to give me XP anymore. I just want to catch it. And it's like, I can't now.
Maybe that's also a mechanic to sort of be like, all right, we do want you to play through the game and get the badges, do the story. You can't just stay here. Otherwise... You just like go in there and get to level 100, do everything. So, all right, now it's time to. You just end up never doing the story.
I guess so, but the thing is, at the same time, is that, like you said, you can just like lower the catch rates depending on your badge or something like that. Something to get that does incentivize you, but it doesn't block you out of everything, because taking your time with the game is good, and extending that playtime is great. I didn't finish. You finished it in what, 21 hours? You said.
Mm-hmm.
I finished it in about 28 because I spent so much time in the wild area just doing whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was enjoying.
Yeah. So how much time during the actual story do you think you played in there? Because I played for roughly about 4 or 5 hours at a guess. Because I did like 2 big sessions of just doing raids and all right, now it's time to get back to the story. Do you reckon you spent like 6, 8 hours in there?
In the wild area?
Yeah, during the story.
Yeah, about...
We spent a long time the other day.
8 to 10 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I spent a lot of time there because I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
But, again, it's just sort of a pain in the butt. It also sort of like, in saying that, it trivializes the rest of the game in some senses. It hands out so much free XP. So much. And you're kind of just like, well...
It's a hard thing to balance because this game... is a traditional Pokemon game, and it is also doing something completely different, which is just open world.
I mean, I can tell you how to balance it.
Do what you want.
Don't hand out XP like it's free toilet paper. Well, at a public restroom. They don't have to hand out that much XP. There's so much XP, and it's like, I get it. It's in the form of a consumable item, and to a degree, it's sort of like, oh well, now you're rewarded for your time in the wild area, but it is so much that it's. Utterly ridiculous. I'm like, I'll use this XL candy, not knowing how much XP it gives me, and it boosts my Pokemon 10 levels. I'm like, holy shit! I did one battle for that. Like, that's crazy. That's so much XP. It really does not need to be that much at all. And it did get to the point where I was just like, what am I even doing? I'll just put everything at 70 and finish the game.
Because like a lot of those raids, you can access them straight away. They're one level at first, but they eventually get to 5, and it is set up for the end game of like training up Pokemon easily, getting them to level 100,
And that's good as well.
which is great. But having them in the main story when like your guys are about level 30, and you sort of get carried by a couple of guys who are doing 5 stars. You get a few XLs, you get a few mediums, you pump them into your Pokemon. They go right up. But I just feel like if you want the game to be really easy, you can make it really easy. If you want it to be hard, you can make it hard. You can't. You got to catch your Pokemon in the wild area, and you can't just grind in there.
I guess so, but
if you don't want it to be, because people are
but the max raids are fun, and being gated from them just because like you don't want to make the rest of the game easier for yourself was like, it's the main mechanic of the game in my opinion, and I feel like it's a mechanic that I guess I'm seriously worried about this mechanic because I enjoy it so much. It's one of like my favorite Pokemon features in a very long time. Max raid battles, this cooperative battling, it's great.
Yes,
but I'm fearful because what have we had in the past with the Battle Frontier and all that?
It goes away, yeah. And, Dynamaxing is not going to be a thing that sticks around for another generation of Pokemon. It's too wrapped up in the Galar region.
And that's worrying because it is such a good thing.
Yeah, so, max raid battles, obviously, you go to a den in the wild area and you can do a raid battle with 4 people versus one Dynamaxed Pokemon. And, like you're saying, it is absolutely phenomenal. What it adds to the game and what it's going to add to the longevity of playing these games as well is huge.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun because going back to, say, X and Y, we all played together, all in the same room, training up a Pokemon, going through the story. But there was no... Unless we're like, hey, do you want to trade? Or, hey, would you like to battle? That's as far as sort of the communication between us goes.
Yeah.
And I'm not... Going through the story, I'm not too interested in just putting my story team against your story team. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that fun.
Yeah.
Not until, like, the end game where we're, like, really working out strategies and sort of trying to beat each other. We haven't even done that in years.
Yeah.
To be fair. But now, where we can work together with 2 other people, hopefully.
Yeah.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And with the Gigantamax forms popping up and being that's the only way to get them and having them be really hard to catch, really rare, that's a real challenge, which the rest of the game doesn't really offer.
Yeah.
The story is pretty easy. You can go through it and, even if you're going through it without just abusing the wild area XP, it's still a pretty easy game. It's it's similar to X and Y, Sun and Moon. You're able to get through it pretty easy, but if you're actually looking to get Dynamax forms of Pokemon, Gigantamax forms of Pokemon, it's a real challenge. It's really, really, really rewarding.
It is.
I am yet to catch a Gigantamax Pokemon.
Yeah, me too. And I've versed heaps of them.
Yeah, we versed them, but they just break out the balls, and you get the one shot. And and the battles, the real hard ones, God, they're hard, and they just break out. Oh, that's it. They're gone. You can save in front of it and reset, but I don't really want to just redo the same battle. It was hard enough to beat it in the first place.
Yeah. So, and you have to do it with NPCs, which is even worse.
Yeah, and the NPCs. So as far as I guess like the online communication goes, that's a huge feature of the wild area. Seeing other players roam around and being able to team up and do Dynamax max raid battles together. It's really great when it works. It was Bryce and I were playing the other day, and it's really hard to get, in our case, another 2 people to join.
That's right.
A lot of times we were stuck using the NPC players, and it's just random what Pokemon they give you each time. And
there's set ones. There's set ones because we saw them all the time.
Yeah, but there's set ones, but it's random within that set.
Yeah.
And sometimes they might give you good Pokemon.
A Magikarp with Hydro Pump.
And Magikarp wasn't even the worst one.
No, it wasn't.
There was some of them which were just butt useless.
No.
There was a Soul Rock where all it did was put up its defense and special defense. But in max raid battles, every so turns, the stat changes get nulled.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to break barriers and do damage to these things, like Soul Rock, I don't care about you putting up your defense.
You're not doing shit.
Your defense, you're useless in the first place. You're not going to be able to withstand it no matter how many cosmic powers you pull off.
That's right. Yeah.
God, it was frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely awful.
And we just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until we're like, hey, we've got a Pokemon that won't get crushed straight away because of its type disadvantage.
That's right. Yeah.
And I do understand that if they just said, hey, we'll make the NPCs awesome and they'll carry you through the whole thing, that's not good either, obviously. And they are pretty much just filling the space in case, just in case you don't have online or you don't have enough friends, it's fine, which is what they're doing for us. But they are trying to encourage you to reach out to people, make a party, get amongst it, take down some bosses. And that's what we were trying to do, but whether it was just online not working or
people not being at that level yet.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that would have just been going through the story at that point.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know at this stage, but yeah, hopefully it does work. Because if it works, it's gonna be awesome. Just sitting there in the wild area just for a night, just grinding out max raid battles. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great. But like, I'm thinking of it for the future. Like, this is a fantastic mechanic and adds so much to the like cooperative side of Pokemon that I'm worried that we will never see it again after this generation. And that's really frustrating in some senses, because like, imagine a game with a full complete Pokédex, a battle frontier, max raid battles. Like, imagine all that in one package. How incredible that would be as a whole. I feel like the more you're right, they put this so hard on the Galar region that it feels like it's never going to be back again, and it's become such a huge deal in this game, down to the point where it's integrated into the integrated its own social feature. The wild area's got its own social features. You can see what people are catching, what people are, raiding, what they're doing, and you can join in with a click sort of easily. It's all really well done, but how will they progress it forward and move it onto the next game? Yeah. Because I would not want to lose this feature. I think it's probably the best part of this game, hands down.
I agree. Yeah.
And I would love to see it in future games, but again, based on what we've seen in the past, I'm trying to think maybe it's not good to get too attached to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we are not going to see max raid battles as they are in Gen 9, for example. But it doesn't stop them from being like, oh, this is a whatever the next mechanic, gimmick, raid battles are. They can still do that. I think these are way too popular to be like, because this is going to be the longevity of their games. This is how they're stretching it out. Like, there's like a Butterfree event in, I think it's Shield at the moment, and I think it's Dreadnought in Sword, and they're sort of like doing these staggered releases of Pokemon you're able to catch in these raid battles, and that's how they're keeping players playing. And I think that they can't get rid of it. I think these things are going to be built on over time, but it won't. It will be something different in another Pokemon game.
Yeah, it's just added so much again to the social side of Pokemon that, like, especially the online portion. There are a lot of people obviously with the friend safaris and stuff like that. People were talking about friend safaris. That feature's gone now.
Yeah, so that's the thing with Pokemon. Like, they
implement something that's good.
They do features, and I guess they don't include them in each Pokemon game because they want each Pokemon game to feel unique, have something different about it.
Yeah, but some of those features are literally fantastic ideas that should remain implemented so people can keep playing them.
Well, it's like in X and Y, I forget the exact name of it, but the bottom screen, how it sort of had all your friends there, what they're doing. You can easily trade, battle with people. It was like a fantastic tool which made just everything in that game easy, one touch, bang, easy to do. And Sun and Moon, they got rid of it, and they made it into the Festival Plaza, which was a place that you had to load into, physically run to, then activate it. It was just like completely backwards, and I never used it. I never went in there. And
I never bothered either.
Never mucked around with it because it was over designed. It wasn't good.
No,
especially going from a tap on the bottom screen to like physically go here and do this. It's they make some odd decisions as far as like some features they include and don't include, which I guess is a bit of a segment to we've been talking about the cut of the Pokédex for
ages,
all year since E3, unfortunately. How do you feel about it after playing the games and seeing what's in there? What do you think?
Well, are we in non-spoiler territory here, or are we in spoiler territory?
Well, I think we'll go non-spoiler after this, unless the points you want to bring up are spoilers. Then we
There
can...
will be points in there where there's spoilers. I feel like I can't really talk about it without mentioning just some Pokemon that are not there, which will probably, you know...
You reckon that will be a spoiler enough for people?
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are almost an hour in. So this is the point where spoilers are switched on. So if you are sort of yet to take in all the game you want without knowing any more, pause now and come back to the podcast a bit later. And we're going to be going through, the actual story itself, the new Pokemon, and what you're going to be doing in the end game. Yep. So if you don't want to know that, come back to us later. So Bryce, the Pokedex. How do we feel, my friend?
400 Pokemon is abysmal. 400 Pokemon is not enough. It's just looking at it from a perspective of like, how are they going to stretch these games out? That's nearly a third of all Pokemon. So we're looking at some Pokemon not being in there for 2 whole games. With, they'll probably be something as useless as, I don't know.
Stunfisk.
No, Stunfisk is in this one.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Dunsparce, I guess. It could just be...
yes, yeah.
Could just be something as useless as Dunsparce, and it misses out for 2 games and gets to the next one. It's like, oh, well, it's just Dunsparce. But it could also be something that's big. And I feel like there's a lot of Pokemon that would have made a lot of sense and fit in this region, including some of my favourites, like Lilligant and Crocodile.
God, you beat their drum hard.
I do, because I love those Pokemon. Yep. They're great. And they've got so many Pokemon in there that are similar, where it's just like, okay. And then when, in the case of Lilligant, it was like, they have so many Pokemon that are like, oh, hey, here is the... God, what was it? Well, they'll have the... Imagine you were like playing the old games that had the split separates for the new generation. Mm-hmm. Like Rhianoclus and Gothitelle line.
Yeah. Yep. Version exclusives in like the games that are introduced in.
They are version exclusive here. But Whimsicott is in this game. And its version exclusive counterpart was Lilligant. And it's not here. So how did they decide that? Mm. And, instead they've got like a similar design Pokemon in Serena being there. How did they decide that over Lilligant? Mm. I don't get it.
Yeah, it is unfortunate because they hit like a real nerve of you missing that one. And
there's heaps of Gen 5 Pokemon in there. I love Gen 5. They're missing so many good Gen 5 Pokemon.
It's got the biggest percentage of
it does.
Each region. Yeah, it's got 53% of...
It's missing so many of the good ones. Like Scolipede
It's got Squawk and Throw there. Karate Boys.
That's the other thing. They've got Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. Why are they there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Why?
Good question. I don't know.
It's 36% of Pokemon all up in this one game. 36. And to have something like Sawk and Throw in there, but also have Tyrogue, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and Hitmontop. Why the fuck is Sawk and Throw in there? Why?
I don't know.
Like, I feel like it's a real disparity because it's like you've got that. Like, that's a whole group of fighting Pokemon that are similar in how they're designed. It's like, oh, they're just like solo off fighting types that do their thing, and they have slight differences. So Sawk and Throw and Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, arguably Sawk and Throw are less inspired, but
a little bit.
Yeah. But then you've got Pokemon like, again, Whimsicott or whatever that doesn't have its counterpart. But then I guess they just decided, it's too similar to Serena because it's a sort of bipedal flower. It's like, okay, but why the fuck did you put Sawk and Throw in there? Why? Who the fuck's going to use Sawk and Throw? There's so many good fighting Pokemon in this game. Why those two? Mm. I was expecting like 600 maybe,
I was expecting about that much too.
Yeah. Or maybe even just half in general, a 50 split. Just so it's like, cool.
Yeah. When I initially saw 400, I'm like, oh, that's even less than I thought. Throughout the year, we've had a lot of time to sort of marinate on this. And at first, I was like, holy fuck. Because my initial problem wasn't, oh no, I can't use my Porygon Z, which I would fucking love to use, by the way.
Yeah, you can't.
That wasn't the crutch of my problem. What really, just going back to X and Y and Sun and Moon, I was like, there were quotes from Amori saying that a lot of people didn't use a lot of the features that I cared about. The big Pokemon fan, the Battle Frontier, like the things that people spend time in with after the game. He said like a lot of people don't spend time on it, so we're not going to worry about it. That is not his quote, but that is pretty much what he said. And I'm like, so that's the idea of what Game Freak were going forward. And with the news of like the Pokemon are also cut, not just the features you want. I'm like, oh no. And that's where my sort of, I don't want to say, I'm going to say disappointment, definitely disappointment. That's where my disappointment come from, because this is Pokemon Sword and Shield on Nintendo Switch, first console game from Game Freak. What isn't Let's Go?
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be a big, expansive game with all the bells and whistles, all the Pokemon, everything looking awesome. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't it. But sort of getting time to, I guess, really think about it. And don't get me wrong, obviously still I'll be like, I want all the Pokemon in there. Because especially now I'm in the end game, I'm like, all right, I want to get all my Pokemon. I want them to look awesome on the TV. I want to start doing raid battles with them. I want to do raid battles with them in it. I want to do all of it. But, at the end of the day, that's not what has happened. So we won't talk about the end game here, but I feel like just as far as that is the main bit I spend my time within the Pokemon game after the story, and with what they've done for competitive play, max raid battles and everything, I am happy with the end game for the first time in years with Pokemon.
Yeah, I can agree with that, yeah.
So I'm like, well, I've got that. Because if I still had bad post-game and no Pokedex, then it'd be like, all right, these games were a decent story, but now they've got no longevity at all. They've got less longevity than X and Y, which had no longevity.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. It's not a good thing, but at the same time, the games probably did benefit from it. Just as far, I would prefer Game Freak go to a longer dev cycle so they can have the time to fit these things and polish everything right up. But that wasn't the case for Sword and Shield, and if they had to do that, I'm really happy with the product in the end. But what I will say about sort of when it comes to sort of competitive, I was thinking about this. I always go back to like Galarian Wheezing with its ability neutralizing gas. If they had every single Pokemon in there, they wouldn't be able to do abilities like that, like because of you've got Regigigas with its slow start ability. You've got Slacking with its Taunt ability, which stop it attacking every second turn. With so many Pokemon, I don't think they'll be able to do such out there and sort of creative abilities, items, moves, etc. I know that they, God forbid, they could just limit the amount of Pokemon you can use in competitive play, which they have done in Sun and Moon and that in the past, especially like the first year before Pokemon Bank come out. But even then, when they say, you can't use those Pokemon and they are there, that's bad as well. But if I just want a really robust metagame to get involved with, I haven't been involved in the Pokemon metagame since, really Gen 4 with Heart Gold, Soul Silver, because they were the last games with like a lot of end game to sort of get involved with.
Yeah.
And I guess now they've cut the Pokedex right down. It's like, oh, well, I've got way less choice, but I can't judge this yet. But going forward, I hope every single Pokemon, at least nearly all of them, have a really unique role to play. You've got, Galarian Weezing, and Weezing's never had that much of a role to play. He was just a Pokemon in the background. Now he's brought to the forefront with his new form. And you've got like a fair few Pokemon with their like just new uses and all that. Because I think it boils down to there's 400 and something Pokemon, but it works out to be about 150 fully evolved Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's including like 2 evolutions for like 1 line and stuff, for example. So it's not like there's 400 Pokemon to choose from. There's about 150 so, which you can really look at, because you're not going to be taking your first form evolution into a competitive battle necessarily.
Yeah.
Unless it's Pikachu with a light ball, then and you can Dynamax it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if the light ball's in this game actually. I assume it is.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think it's just, it's happened. This is what we're going to have to be put up with for at least the next Pokemon game, because the Pokemon game coming out next year or the year after has been in development for 2 years already. And they said this is what they're going forward with. But as far as like what's happened online because of it, backlash, people saying they're not buying the game, which they probably did anyway because everyone's full of shit. I don't feel like it's worth not buying this game over.
No, yeah, I don't agree. Wait, hang on. No, I agree, rather. Sorry. What I do worry about, though, is that I would like to see these changes reverted and they do something about it. I don't think buying them is going to help the situation.
Like buying them, or
like
because you're sending them the message like, oh,
you're
that's
sending
fine.
the messages. Yeah, oh, it's fine. It works. I look.
Because I can't say anything about that. I've bought 3 copies of the game. I'll be a complete hypocrite if I say don't buy the game.
It is extremely hard because I want to buy. Like I want to say, hey, buy it because it's got some great features that I really want to stay and sit around Pokemon for the rest of time. Max raid battles are amazing, great piece of content. But at the same time, it's like 36% of the Pokemon are there, and that to me is an abysmally small number. I would understand maybe 65% of Pokemon. I think that is a far more acceptable number. But it's not. And I mean, this is where we're at now. You're right in the context of like if they did nothing with the end game, then I probably wouldn't have bought it. I'll be honest. But max raids have kept me in there. And they probably will still keep me in there. I'm interested. They've got me. I'll keep playing it. But with that kind of cut that they had for the decks, it was so extreme that it was that much. That's huge. 36% of the original last 7. Well, the last 7 generations. That's it. And I feel like they need to up that number from that. Because when they were talking about cutting the Pokédex, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I sort of understand if you cut out some of the stuff where it's just like, just could not find a place for it to fit. Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that is such a small pool of Pokemon, and
that's also including like almost 81 new Pokemon as well. That's not including just 400 from almost 900. That's 300 from almost 900.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
Yeah. And it's always been riddled with excuse ever since it was announced, and whether it had been models or competitive balancing or whatever. A Game Freak employee said on Twitter today, made an official statement, said they are the same models. They've officially stated that now. They're the same models, slightly tweaked. So that is out in the air now. Yeah,
and like as far as the models go, like there's a company called Creatures which handles the Pokemon IP, all of like the copyright for every single Pokemon, and they do the models. They handle the models for the games. So there's like literally a company out there that works on that. It's not just it isn't just 12 people from Game Freak just slaving away. And if that is the case, that is not on. They need to work that out.
Slave labour.
I was going to say something. Yeah. But because I would obviously I would love a Pokemon game. Take 5 years to make it. Like say, hey guys, it's going to take a while. This is going to take a while, but we really want to create an awesome game. And they have made an awesome game, but yeah, it's a glaring omission. Because like for me as well, growing up with the series, it's a little bit immersion breaking when it's like Pokemon just don't exist.
Yeah,
they just don't exist.
Or they exist on T-shirts, but not in the game.
Yeah, what the hell, Poliwhirl.
Yeah.
There was Poliwag on a t-shirt I saw.
Poliwag on a t-shirt, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, is he even in the game? I don't think he is.
Yeah, it's not in the game.
Didn't really think there, did they?
No. Yeah, it's just the little things like that where it's just like, cool. Kind of just adds insult to injury. I bought that shirt just for the irony.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it is a little bit hurtful for me. I do feel like having half decent endgame has softened the blow, but yeah, until I actually start building competitive teams and see how much is actually worth my time in using.
I think it's still very much worth your time.
No, not the team building aspect, but what Pokemon are worth my time.
Oh, right.
Like, if they're saying, like, their other excuse was viability, like, we want to make things more viable. It's like, okay, so you've cut down to 400 Pokemon now, it better be pretty freaking viable.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to know. It's been the first weekend. You know, we've got, people like A-Drive and people that have been in competitive Pokemon for ages. Even they're not going to be like, know everything straight away. It's going to take months to work out what works, and the meta is going to move as well. But I guess sort of the way I might say it is, it works. It'll be like a season of competitive Pokemon that for a year or two until the next game comes out. This is the set we're working with. The meta is going to change hopefully throughout the years, and then a new Pokemon game comes out, new Pokemon, new set of Pokemon. Old Pokemon have been buffed, changed, and sort of a new set of Pokemon within that region to sort of work with. I think that could be quite fun. And that's that's devil's advocate. That's actively looking for a positive, having it cut down. Yeah. But it's going to be if we want to still enjoy these games, we're not going to be able to dwell on the fact you and I cannot change Game Freak's mind.
No,
we can't do it. If we want to enjoy these games, we got to sort of look for the positives in a cut decks, and that is the positive. That will be the positive. The other positive is that these games, sort of when you start off, you get access to a huge amount of Pokemon straight away as well.
You do, yeah.
And each route is just full of different Pokemon. Say, go through Ruby and Sapphire, whatever. Like the first few routes, it's all the same, and it like gradually changes as you go on. This one, there's something new around every corner.
Yeah,
and that's another positive to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, so. We've been saying all year, well, we're not going to judge it until we play it, and I think it turns out to be what I expected. Just like it's a downer, but it is what it is, and they are still good games at the end. But just like you said before, like imagine if they spend a long time, the graphics are just really nice. Don't have to be the most impressive graphics in the world, but just nicely polished, bright, pretty. All the Pokemon on there, nicely modeled and animated. There's like a big, huge battle facility, battle frontier.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was all just there, that is. And I don't feel like I don't understand why that's so much of a stretch to ask for as well.
Yeah. I feel like there are game companies just making absolutely nuts things, and even just like on its own home console, Breath of the Wild,
like say the Pokemon RPGs, say they didn't make that much money. But even with like everything going around at Pokemon Go, the anime, the card game, just please, whatever you're, just allow more time and
make it a system seller.
Well, it is a system seller. It's a Pokemon Sword,
but no, like a system seller,
like a real one for everyone.
A real one for everyone. Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah, true. Because like Breath of the Wild, for example, that Zelda wasn't everyone's cup of tea. People were like, I don't play Zelda. Played Ocarina of Time, didn't like it. Breath of the Wild really turned heads.
It did.
It really turned heads. People that didn't play Nintendo, that got people to buy Switches.
Yeah.
And Zelda has never done that for years. Maybe Ocarina of Time back in the day. Maybe Link to the Past, like way back then when Zelda was really doing new things.
Yeah.
And it started doing that again. Maybe you're right. Maybe Pokemon doesn't do that, but it's also one of the series that takes it the safest. And I'm not one of these people that I know a lot of people out there are like, oh, I find a turn-based game so boring. I just want it to be like a third-person action game. I'm like, no, that is not Pokemon.
Look, I'll lend the game credit where credit is due. My partner has not played a Pokemon game since Yellow.
Mm.
She wanted to give it a crack last night with my daughter, and she ended up just getting hooked in herself and kept playing. Now I haven't had my Switch all day. She's been playing, and that's good because that's sort of like, well, you're enjoying it, and it's very sort of like I don't have to be there and explain everything. I did a little bit to begin with, but it's just like if a move is super effective, it tells you, and just like the little beginner things like that, that's all good features. It's sort of the thing you can turn off though. Like you could just go into the settings and go, no, I don't want this, or all that kind of thing, and then all of a sudden it's like. Difficulty level. Do you want to play a more difficult route? Are you a veteran to Pokemon? Yes. Okay. So the Pokemon will be a couple levels higher, and you'll be gated a little bit of XP or something like that, and then just sort of push on past that. Like Pokemon has the power to do that, to be open to literally everyone, and it has the power to have so much content in it that it could just be a literal theme park of like. I guess attractions.
Yeah, I guess that this is we're not really going into the spoilers that much, but going back to the wild area, so we really enjoyed that and being able to freely move the camera in that, and we actually hadn't touched this. You talked about the routes. You weren't actually a big fan of the routes necessarily. Whereas I was fine with them, but I want to hear your point first.
Okay, so like I know that we've been slowly weaning off stuff like HMs and all that for the last generation or so, and all that. But the thing is the wild area is really good as an open space, but there's not much there in terms of like if I want to make a self-discovery, like oh hey look, there's an evolution item up here or whatever it may be. That doesn't exist here like at all. The wild area is just meant to be open and free and do whatever you will, whatever it may be. But these routes are very, very shallow. Like the routes in between towns and cities are very shallow and they're very short. Routes in previous Pokemon games, it's like, well, you've got a HM, you can climb up this thing and look, hey, there's a patch of grass where you can encounter a specific Pokemon you couldn't before, or hey, look, there's an evolution item up here that might come useful to you down the line, or a really powerful TM, or whatever it may be. Just stuff like that, I think, is like enough in saying of its own. Of like, there's none of that in these routes. It's just like, hey, look, there's a trainer, there's a couple patches of grass, there might be an item here, cool. Move on. You do that in like literally 2.5 minutes. It's like, great, you're in the next town. It's like, okay, so the traversal is just not there. It's very, very shallow. It's good if you just want to rush it and you just want to get past it. I'm like, cool. There were times where it's just like, yeah, okay, good. I don't want to have to fucking doodle around or whatever it may be. But it does take a sense of like, just think about it in old Pokemon games where being with your Pokemon was part of the journey. Of cutting down bushes using strength, rock climb, surf, waterfall, whatever it may be. Your team was the mode of transport, the traversal that would get you through these routes and into higher places, newer things. There's none of that now. All of it has been delegated to the Rotom bike in the wild area, and it's literally just, hey, you can either move faster or you can go on water. The taxi is a fucking brilliant idea. I don't disagree with that because it's just, hey, quick traversal done and you can do it immediately and it's fantastic.
Just with your map. Easy.
It's
awesome.
great. Yeah. I think that is fantastic.
No animation. Loads really quick.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was another complaint of people. There's no fly animation, but actually using it in games, like that is fantastic. Why do you want to see that animation that takes 15 seconds every time?
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with that. It is literally just
fast travel me, please.
Yeah.
I want to go to the town. I don't want to watch me get my ball out, jump on a bird, and go
That's
off.
right.
Yeah.
But taking out some of those areas, like just think of what was it called? Meteor Falls and Ruby Sapphire Emerald. How like you travel up a waterfall or whatever, and all of a sudden you're in an area where there's a pseudo legendary, where a pseudo legendary spawns. Bagon. It's just like cool. There's not really anything like that in this game, where it's just like. It feels like those caves or anything like that are special and provide something special for you. They don't do that. Yeah. They're just an in-between of, hey, go here. And I guess it's just... It takes away. It's not fun to travel through them if you're looking for just something to do. I feel like the wild area is empty enough in some regards where it's like, hey, look, you walk to this bush. Hey, look, there's a Pokemon. Or hey, look, you see this sparkling thing. That's what's great about the wild area. It just constantly refreshes different Pokemon, different items dropped on the ground, all that stuff. And
you're always seeing something like exciting.
That's right.
Whether it's like picking up an evolution stone, like, oh, thank God,
yeah,
I needed this, or oh, what the hell's that? I want to catch that.
Yeah, but it's almost the same in the routes, but the routes are skinny little roads that last 2 minutes. It's almost like they shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Well, I guess thinking about it, you don't have those areas to come back to, like unlock, which you did in previous games with HMs or even in Sun and Moon, where
Actually, that's a good point. It feels like they're not relevant after the first time you've walked through them.
No, they probably aren't unless you want a Pokemon there. I guess me initially playing them, I like Pokemon being Pokemon. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not one of these people who want it to drastically change, at least not right now. So when I was going through, I was just like, the discovery was pretty much like what's in the grass and what's popping out. So through every route, I was trying to catch as many Pokemon as possible. And
I did that too.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, I was getting enough satisfaction just from the amount of Pokemon in each route just to discover. So it wasn't necessarily like, oh, what's behind that bush? Cut, get through it. And that's what, satisfies me, getting that item on the other side of the bush. I was just getting satisfied from just progressing forward, catching the Pokemon. But there is definitely room for improvement as far as like sort of getting the wild area mechanics, into a full game.
Yeah.
Because I did, like, after like big sessions in the wild area, I go to a town to go to the Pokemon Center, get some more Pokeballs and that, and I find myself like using the right stick. I'm like, oh yeah, right, I can't control the camera here, and it feels after doing that for a while, it feels like you should be able to.
Yeah.
So it is a bit jarring, sort of like spending a lot of time in the wild area than going to a town.
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah, what you're saying is, definitely right. But I didn't feel like they were bad or they'll.
I mean, we're busier people nowadays, though. Like, I feel like cutting out that type of thing is more of a convenience to us than it is a hindrance.
Yeah, and as far as the HMs can burn in hell.
I'm not saying bring back HMs. I'm just saying having a Pokemon that's relevant to the activity that you're trying to do, like a water Pokemon for surf.
So did you liked it in Sun and Moon? You got Charizard for fly. You got Tauros for.
Oh, Pokéride, hell no.
Not Pokéride, but you got the Pokemon there, which is relevant to what you're doing, which is what I think you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like you have to lock HMs behind gym badges and all that. I'm just saying like
you want a bit more character in the moves.
Yeah. Just something in the route that makes you go, hey, look, this kind of feels like,
No,
I should just be able to do something here.
I didn't mind it just being super streamlined. Just as you bike, make it real easy to get where you're going. Because this is the first game where I played through the game without a water Pokemon. I've always had a water Pokemon because you've always needed Surf. And water's my favorite type, so I always go for a water type anyway. But the way it ended up, I was catching Pokemon, and I ended up with 6 I liked. I'm like, cool, this is my team. And one was a rock water, one was a grass, the other one was electric. I got a normal dark, and like just none of them worked out to be the type of Pokemon that can learn any water attacks. I had no water coverage at all. Going through the game, I wasn't too worried about that, but it was nice just not having to be like, all right, I've got to get rid of one of these because I need the Surf.
Okay. HMs aside then, and specific Pokemon typing aside, and all that shit. Right. What about literally just having to go out of your way? I'm not saying it has to be HM gated or whatever it may be. Just going out of your way to find something unique. There was not a lot of that.
In routes.
There was not a lot of that.
There was like, this is straight ahead. Then there's a little path to the left. Do you want to go down there? Yeah, you walk down there, click on the Pokeball, go back out, keep going on your day. That's as far as it went. Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, hey, you were rewarded just aesthetically of like, you could go up this path and then you could get like a really awesome view of something and an item and just be like, oh, that's cool. It was just kind of like, here's a dead end of a cave, or, here's where a bush is and there is an item next to the bush. It's like, yay. I feel like you can show off so much of a region and especially just looking at past Pokemon games, you can show so much of a region just from perspective.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. It's just like, hey, look, there's a path that goes left. It's got a Pokeball at the end of it. That's all that's there. So It's just like, and sometimes because of as much as I enjoy like how a lot of the items that are necessary for evolving Pokemon and all that shit, I like how it's very obtainable in these games, but there's just nothing that, like, if I want to go down that path and pick that item up, it might be 3 special attacks. It's like X specials. It's like, great. So why do I bother? I saw a TM. I saw a TM near the town with the fighting gym. Sight on Sea.
You know what I'm like names. I forget them.
Yeah,
I can't
remember it exactly, but it's the one where like you do your fossils and whatnot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And there was a TM. I literally looked at it from a different angle, and I'm like, I can't be fucked. Because then I'm going to go up there, I'm going to have to battle a trainer, and that trainer is just going to negate me from getting that TM, and I'm just like... And that TM's probably not that useful. And surely enough, it was Dig. Hooray. I had no motivation to go get it. I was not interested in what it was.
See, I'm always drawn for the TMs, because whether it's a useless TM or not, I just want a complete TM list.
And I understand that, but most TMs in this game are useless. Most of the good moves aren't delegated to TRs.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a new mechanic, yeah.
But I think that's... And I think that's great, but at the same time, it just makes my sense of like looking at that thing and being like, it's probably just fucking Thunderwave or some shit that I don't particularly need. It's like, alright, I don't care.
Well, to be fair, Thunderwave is really good.
It is really good. But then you've got Nuzzle, which you use religiously, so you can't tell me that you don't have something better in the wing.
Nuzzle's great. I use it all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, well, cool. You know, it didn't really give me that sense of like, I really want to go over there and see what the hell that is, which is something that most Pokemon games do for me. This one did not do it in the routes at all. Pokemon in the wild area do it for me. Not items in the routes or anything like that, because it's just... Most of the time I pick them up, it's just something I could buy at a literal Pokemon.
So do you feel like this is a part of Pokemon's archaic design that you want to see gone? Like, obviously we've had that since the Game Boy days, going down, paths, next town, keep going around the region like that. We've been doing that for ages, and 2019 we're still doing that, but we do now have a taste of what Game Freak's version of what a semi-open world is like. Do you feel like that's just like being given something that's more appealing and be like, all right, no, don't want this anymore? Do you feel like...
I feel like you could build an entire region like you could a Skyrim map, if that makes sense. Just have like, there's a mountainous area, you've got to get through the mountainous area. Sure, there might still be loading screens. I'm not saying that no loading screens because I don't like them. You could still have that, but like you could have like a big area and it just connects everything.
Yeah, I guess like it's pretty... I imagine if the next generation or so, if they really take sort of the 3D camera and making a full 3D Pokemon game into consideration, I just imagine it's something like Dragon Quest 11, to be honest.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest 11 is pretty much what I would imagine the next step to be for Pokemon. Yeah. And it's like, pretty similar turn-based things. Enemies in the overworld, run into them, initiate a battle.
And it looks awesome. Like, it is literally kind of embarrassing when you sit there and compare Dragon Age 11...
Dragon Quest.
Sorry. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about medieval games in my head, and Dragon Age came in my head. Dragon Quest 11. It's embarrassing when you compare Dragon Quest 11 and then Pokemon together and see like the absolute glaring differences in just how well designed their typical RPG world is. And a lot of people point out, there's 900 plus unique enemy models in Dragon Quest 11.
Is there?
There is. So Pokemon's like, there's too many of them, we're cutting them. It's like, okay.
Yeah, Dragon Quest 11 did take years to develop.
It certainly did.
Which unfortunately Game Freak didn't get for this game.
And that's, I understand that, but at the same time, like, we are blaming Game Freak a lot, but I do feel like we need to blame the people who are like on the console now, We need to talk about the people that are like, hey, we get it, you need money, you need revenue. Biggest franchise and the media franchise in the world, billions of dollars. It's like, yeah, we get it, you need more money. It's like, all right, how about you try, bringing more people in with something better instead of getting people to exit. Because there is a time where Pokemon's going to phase pretty well down because people are going to stop caring if they keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. I don't feel like they can grip people if they just keep cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and trying to, like, you know, push out half a product.
I will be interested to see what the general consensus of people is like, you know, after a couple of months from people like you and I. You know, there's a lot of people coming back to Pokemon, you know, after years of not playing them because it's on Switch now and it's a lot more appealing system, a lot more appealing graphic-wise and everything, and people are just interested in playing it. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So we've dabbled enough on that.
Yep.
That was the more negative aspects of it, I feel. But it had to be said. I do find it hard talking about it, but because at the end of the day, it sounds so...
Look, my TLDR, because I was
trivial,
probably the most negative in that, is... my TLDR is... I love the wild area and I love what it's doing for Pokemon. I hope it never goes away. And I guess they kind of expect you for your freedom in the wild area, and then your routes in for the, hey, go to the next town. And, like, I get it, but a lot of the magic of Pokemon was seeing a whole lot of unique areas rather than just, hey, there's one big unique area and here's, like, a tunnel every time you want to go to a new city. I think that is literally just my gripe with it. I feel like you got to do one or the other. You got to have really nice routes, or you got to have a big open area where you can move between places to really get the best of it, rather than sort of just shortcoming on one and really placing all your faith in the other in putting it in the same game.
I mean, with a taste of the wild area now, imagine, like, you know, you're in, say, the desert area of the wild area, you're catching Pokemon, and you sort of, like, wander off and you sort of, like, see in the distance there's a town.
Yeah.
And seamlessly, like Breath of the Wild or Skyrim or many games that have done it.
Over the last decade and a half.
Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
Another comparison, like, just like the thrill of seeing the town and getting there.
Yeah.
And, like, meeting people, all seamless without having to go up the stairs and load again.
That's right.
Be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. It's just it's starting,
and, like, of course I want that as well.
Yeah.
I just I didn't notice it as much. I was like, I'm having fun going through it, catching Pokemon.
And I think that was the thing too,
because
because I was having fun too, but I just realized after going out for, like, Route 6, I was just like, man, these are really nothing. You know, I did notice at the first couple routes, it's when I got to about Route 6, I'm like, okay, I get it. Another straight walk to the next part. Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
All right, so about half an hour after we said spoilers, which we didn't really spoil much, let's talk about the story. So I think for the most part, the story is pretty straightforward, you know, going throughout it. Then it's all of the major points are sort of in the back half. So I don't know if you want to talk through the main story itself until, or you just want to jump to the end, or what?
I think we kind of touched on it in the non-spoiler discussion. It is very much a Pokemon journey, and they really emphasize the gym challenge, and I think it is brilliant, and I think they do it extremely well, and I think it's like a huge thing to be like, hey, look, it's me plus a bunch of other trainers aiming for this goal of having the opportunity to fight the champion. And I think that's great. I think it's very well done in that regard. And that's what it is most of the game. It is literally the later half where I'm just like, that's a bit rough. But obviously you enjoyed the entry half as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Because like it didn't take away from you just wanting to fuck around in the open area, the wild area.
No, it didn't. No,
and it just it made it just all about you catching and training Pokemon, which is the main thing I want to do.
Yeah, it's Pokemon.
Yeah,
it's Pokemon. It's what you do.
So yeah, going through it, you don't really get any of the other story. You know, you're going through it, and you know Sonia's talking to you about sort of the legend of what's going on with the two brothers with the sword and the shield that saved the day from the darkest days thousands of years ago. And it's sort of like it's intriguing you throughout the sort of story. You mentioned before that you sort of like it's kind of weird, but it's just there throughout the story. I quite liked it. It's just like a little bit of dialogue here and there, and
It's sprinkled, and like I liked the concept in general. That's the thing. Is it was a break off from the gym challenge, and it gave me something to think about.
Yeah, you just like thinking about it as you're going through, like, oh, this is other thing, and you know what the box legendaries on the front have in relevance to a sword and the shield. Like, oh, are they the boys? You're sort of like thinking,
yeah. It's you know, and it's leading up to something, and it's about like the whole mysteries of the Dynamax and Gigantimaxing, and I'm like, cool, but every time it happens after a gym, it's just like,
just tell me
more info about the Darkest Day, but it's still not very elaborate. And then it's like, okay, more info about the Darkest Day after the next gym. It's still not really elaborate. Okay, and then it builds all the way up to the end.
Yeah, so you get all the badges, and then it's like you get the 8th badge. You're like, oh,
nothing's fucking happened yet.
Nothing's happened yet. And when you go into the Pokemon League and do the first 2 battles, you're like, all right, this isn't like the actual league. Something's got to happen. Funnily enough, it does. And we actually haven't talked about Chairman Rose yet, probably for very good reason.
Fuck, he was a shit character.
You reckon? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have much to say, but I liked him throughout the story. He was just like a friendly.
He was a good
character.
presence. What was shit about him was that they dumpstered him as the bad guy in the last hour and a half. What the fuck? Why? Like, the thing is, this is where I have the problem, is like, it did intrigue me. The gym challenge was fucking fantastic, and it had so much flavor, and it was beautiful. The Darkest Day intrigued me, and that was awesome. But then you get all the way to the end, it seems like Chairman Rose is this good guy pretty much all the way through.
And like, you know, speculation throughout the whole year, like, that guy's gonna be bad.
Yeah. And like, the thing is like, his motivations in the end is he wasn't even bad. He just wanted to apparently save the planet from something that's happening 1,000 years in the future from now. It's like, okay, so you're an environmentalist. It's like, cool. I can go for that. But why in the last hour and a half you fucking dumpstering me?
See, sorry, go on.
Just before I'm about to fight Leon, you're dumpstering me with a legendary that you've fucking woken up.
You've fucking woken up. Put it at the top of your tower, and you're expecting Leon to catch it, just so it doesn't fucking ruin everything. It's like, you're just dumpstering me with that in the last hour. See,
what?
See, I understand those gripes, but what I liked about it being in the last hour and a half of the game is that it wasn't in the last 5 hours of the game compared to past Pokemon games.
And I get it, but
it draws it out in the middle, and it just like it's always the part of the game where you're like, all right, got to go through this bullshit.
But just think about it for a second. What was fucking good about Sun and Moon's plotline? Fuck all.
Yeah,
right?
I was trying to think of something.
They dumped the Aether Foundation as the bad guys in the last fucking couple of hours. They're like, oh, all of a sudden the Aether Foundation's bad guys. You get to the last hour and a half in this.
I guess technically, but
and they're like,
they made it that obvious in Sun and Moon, but it was like, nah, okay.
They do, but in this, it was like, you get to the last hour and a half. It's like all of those fucking guys that stand out front of the fucking gym doors are all of a sudden a team called. I can't even remember now.
It's only the one with the black glasses.
No, it's not. It's all of them. They've got shirts underneath and they unbutton them. You see them. They're all a part of it. They're all named a team name.
No, one of them came up to us and said, we're not all like this when it was over.
They are not all like this, but most of them fucking were, obviously.
It's the ones with the black glasses. The one you have to find. Yeah, they weren't all bad, bros.
They were. You had to fucking verse them in the last hour and a half. And they're named a name that you didn't see throughout the entire fucking game, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, because they just revealed. Yeah,
the last hour and a half.
Yeah, it was a really quite odd.
It's exactly what happened with the fucking Aether Foundation, and now I know why all those leakers were like, oh yeah, well it carries on a lot of shit from Sun and Moon, because it's exactly the same, except it's arguably, I would say it's probably worse. I love the gym challenges all the way up. I love the Darkest Day better than and Gigantamaxing better than I did Ultra Wormholes. I enjoyed those concepts far better. But you get to the end of it, he's like, I had people collecting these stones for me the entire time so I could wake up a Pokemon that's the physical form of Dynamax energy. It's like, cool, what are you doing that for? It's like, to save the planet in 1,000 years. What? Why?
And Leon's just like, come on, man, can we just do the the final now. Like,
yeah, and then we'll do it afterwards.
We'll do it afterwards. He's like, no, I gotta do it now.
Like, what the fuck? His entire character was ruined by that.
Yeah.
It was entirely ruined by that. And then the worst part is you beat him, you catch a turn at us, and then he's just never there again. You know, he doesn't get arrested and put into jail like he probably should be.
You get no closure.
You get no closure at all. What the fuck? You had all this good setup of like having the gym challenge and the hype around it and all this lore around the Darkest Day, and it just goes to fucking shit right at the end because they just want to put Zacian and Zamazenta, the Rusty Sword and Shield, the culmination of the brothers, the Eternatus. You hear him by name and it's like, I've awoken to Eternatus, and then 5 minutes later you're versing him. It's like, what the fuck is an Eternatus? You didn't tell me about that the entire game.
Yeah.
What?
Because I knew what Eternatus... I knew it by name because of the leaks.
So did I.
And everything. But I didn't actually see it. I didn't know what it looked like.
I did.
And, I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was going to be like something standing on two legs, like a giant. No, what's this? Zygarde's final form?
Yeah.
I kind of imagined it something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of, like,
kind of like
a big giant
Necrozma as well.
Like a giant Pokemon that is creating Dynamaxing. But instead it was just like a polygon
a giant
dragon.
Snake. Yeah.
I'm like, that is not what I was expecting at all. And it was interesting that before you finish the game, that is the Pokemon you catch. I was expecting like, you catch like Zamazenta or Zacian, and
means there's going to be no second versions though. That's guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. Well, I won't get into it too much here, but hopefully we see like just a sequel, like Black and White 2. That'd be nice.
That would be awesome. And if it's improved, then even better. But
it would be way better if the story just like Chairman Rose come out. Congratulations for getting to this point. I want to see a good battle, and there's like an epic battle with Leon, and he comes out and says, "Congratulations, here's your medal. Awesome job," and the game finishes. That did not have to be in there. No. It just there always has to be like, oh, here's the bad guy. Like, we don't need that. I'm completing I'm getting 8 badges. I'm gonna be the champion. I'm gonna complete my Pokedex. I'm gonna get all my curries in my curry decks. I'm gonna get all the TMs. I don't have to beat a big evil man.
No. But the thing is like with Sun and Moon, something that I praise very highly is Team Skull. Because they're done really well.
We haven't talked about Team Yell, have we?
No, we haven't, but we will, because they're very much part of the plot here. Anyway, I talk about Team Skull, because Team Skull is a great way to do a team without making them the awful fucking bad guys that they apparently need to be in a Pokemon universe. Mm-hmm. They're just hooligans. They're just ruffians. They're just outcasts that want to be heard. And, Team Yell's sort of similar. It's like, we represent a town that's very run down. It's not a great place, but we have a couple of people that we covet, and we put them above anyone else, and we want to see them succeed. So they support Marnie and Pierce. They support them with all their heart, and that's what they want to do. So that's why they're trying to hinder you, and Marnie's just like, stop doing it.
And Pierce was a great character too.
I fucking love Pierce.
Yeah.
He was great. Awesome character. And then that's what the evil teams have come to be. And then they've put these backseat good guys as the bad guys.
Yeah, it's been the last 2 generations where, we saw them just like, oh, we're the bad guys. And especially in Sun and Moon, when the first cutscene was
like, you're clearly the bad guy.
Like, you make it blatantly obvious. Like, okay,
yeah,
I'm expecting a turn. And when they're talking to you, like, oh, yeah, hey, Dribby, here you go. It's like, dude, don't even talk to me. I know you're going to be the bad guy. And it's like, yeah, no, we were, and we just want to unleash hell on Earth. Okay.
And I mean, they almost did the same thing here. It's kind of just like Bede's like, I'm collecting wishing stars for Chairman Rose. Like, from the first moment you met him, it's like, okay, so our suspicions are probably true. He's probably using those to do something fucking stupid. But I feel like there could have just been that build up that just is non-existent here.
Yeah. No.
You get right to the end, the champion battle, the most important part, and hey, look, they sort of did this in Black and White as well, but it was done in such a better way.
Oh, yeah, that was done way better.
That was done far better.
And that was done for the first time.
That's right.
In the series as well.
That's right. It was done far better back then, and again, first time in series, they took over the Elite Four. You had to verse them there, and that was the only time you did it. Once you went back there, you could just verse the normal Elite Four and just have a fun time. That was what was good about that. But in here, it's just like you get to the champion battle, the literal last battle you have to do, and he's just like, I'm just going to fuck up everything because I can't wait an extra 12 hours.
Especially since we know that's going to happen. Like, he mutters it under his breath when Leon and the character leave the room in the first place. Like, oh, yeah, I forgot what he says now, but it's like, you wait for tomorrow. You're like, all right, so now you're just watching this cutscene to a battle that you know is going to be interrupted.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Because I liked Rose. I thought Chairman Rose was a good character. He was just walking around being a dopey ass, and he's in disguise. He's got this big gut, and he's in his shorts.
Yeah, that's great, wasn't it? I love that.
So great. I like it, and I think the characters are alright, and I think like having this person who's like the overseer of everything.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's great, and like the thing is when you dumpster this in an hour and a half, these characters just lose everything that was good about them during the entire game. All of a sudden, Chairman Rose is obsessed with doing this within the next 12 hours. It has to be done now, otherwise I'm going to be very angry.
Yeah.
And then Oleana, you talk to her all the time. She's always had this blank expression on her face, and all of a sudden, for one battle, she turns into fucking an insane chipmunk or some shit, where she's a grumpy look on her face, really, really angry. This is the secretary.
Yeah, and she had no reason.
She had fucking no reason at all. And then all of a sudden, the next day, you go back, and it's just like, oh no, the door's locked. Please, Challenger, help me get in there. It's like, you just tried to kill me. Why?
Yeah.
It is like been a really good lead up, like all the way to the end, and then the last 2 hours it just dumpsters it. It's like they didn't have enough time to say, right, let's flesh this out and make it fit all the way through the story. They're just like, just fucking make him evil at the end. And that's exactly what they did in Sun and Moon.
Yeah, it was funny too. Like, at least in Sun and Moon, it's like, oh, like, just say you just missed all the cues. It's like, oh, you are evil. Oh no, I better stop you from opening all these wormholes. That's pretty bad. And like, you're really interested in seeing all the Ultra Beasts. Oh, that's worrying. This one's just like, I want to stop this thing. It's like, why? Just let it go, man. It's fine. It's like, no. It's like, no, dude. Like, seriously, there's a tournament on. We've been working up to this all year, man. It's like, no, it has to be now.
It's not going to hit for another 1,000 years, man. No, it has to be now, mate. All right.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, man.
But I guess the idea that he was the person who's like responsible for the power plant, supplying the region with all its electricity. I guess his character was like, he really, really did care about Galar.
He obviously did.
And his care sort of ate him up and like made him like say, I care so much and I want to protect it forever. But in the end, it's the wrong thing to do.
he just that's the thing though. He gets built up as this person that's done all these good things for Galar all the way out to the end. And then he gets dumpstered as a bad guy at the end, but not in a positive way of like, he's been doing all these things in the background since the start, even though he sort of has. But the only implication you've ever gotten that he was doing that is Bede's like, I need wishing stars.
You're like, what the fuck do you need them for?
What the fuck do you need to give them to Chairman Rose for? And it's the only thing that's said. There's no creeping, looming suspicion.
Is he doing some max raid battles? What's he up to? Like,
yeah, it's like there's no creeping, looming suspicion. They could have had like the gym trainers doing shady things in the background during the story, and they weren't. The guys who were fucking overseeing the thing, they're all like, look at me, I'm from the whatever the fuck it was called corporation. Don't know because we had 3 battles with them, and their taglines mean nothing to me if I see them 3 times, and I never hear about them for the entire story.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but at the same time, I'm like, well, they condensed it all to an hour and a half or an hour or however long it was, and they didn't stretch it out like they did in other games. Like, I know that is a really weak criticism to give.
But the thing is they stretched out one thing. Why didn't they just put that in with that thing? You finished it. Well, you finished the gym, and then you would talk to Sonya, and she would tell you about the Legend of the Hero some more, and the Darkest Day. So it's not like they weren't doing it the entire story. They were doing it with something completely different, and like it kind of kept our attention, but at the same time, there was nothing in they tried to allude to it that something shady was going on, but the only thing that would allude to it was like, I need to collect wishing stars for Chairman Rose. It's like, cool, why? There wasn't anything to be like, oh, look, he could be doing something shady. It was just like, I just need to collect these. I don't know why. He doesn't give you any specific reason why or what he's doing it for.
And do you find out why Chairman Rose chose Bede for the gym challenge? Do you find out why?
No.
Yeah.
He just gets to what is it, the 6th gym, and then all of a sudden he's abandoned by him.
Yeah, because he
destroyed the mural.
The mural, yeah.
And all of a sudden he doesn't care about collecting wishing stars anymore. He just wants to be the fucking fairy type gym leader. It's like, cool.
It gets taken. I really liked that sort of arc.
I did too, because it was funny.
Awesome. Yeah. Before we go into that, we'll just finish this though. But
yeah,
it was just it was a mess, but at the same time, I didn't have high expectations for like this aspect of the story necessarily.
I just feel like it could have been done better.
Going back to X and Y, you got Evitel or Exernius. You're like, I don't know anything about these things. They're just in a test tube, and you go and catch it.
What is it with the 3D? What is it with the 3D Pokemon games where they've just lost like end game content and like story motivation?
I don't know. Yeah,
it's just the 3D games.
Mm.
It's just completely gone out the window, and they don't flesh it anymore.
No, yeah, that's always been.
I will argue, yes, the
criticism.
story probably is a little bit better than what fucking Sun and Moon and X and Y were, but that last 2 hours completely dumpstered the rest of it for me. I'm like, could have just left it, guys. Really.
Yeah. For me, it was like, all right, got 8 badges. Go and do the couple of battles. You're like, oh, all right, let's go and do some busy work. All right, now it's champion. Finish the game.
The only satisfying thing about finishing the game was getting into that post game story and seeing fucking Swordbert's hair fucking flop around. That's the fucking best part about it, was seeing these 2 idiots with fucking sword and shield hair, and they're just fucking flopping around. It was like the only fucking good thing about it, and it was such a relief, because it was like, it's not another Looker story.
Oh my god,
Christ!
We're worried about that, because since was it Gen 4, every post game's like, oh, I'm Looker, I'm a detective from another region investigating something, and Darwin and Pell, that was cool. Like, oh, he's come from Holland. That's really cool. Because like back then, like they barely talked about each other's region.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, that's cool. Then Black and White. Oh, he's back again. X and Y, literally the only thing to do after the game. Oh, he's back again. That was an interesting little story, to be fair, in X and Y.
Yeah.
It was done pretty well. Probably the best they've done it.
Yep.
And then Sun and Moon, he's back again, and that's how you get the Ultra Beast post game. So all right.
We get it. Look as a character.
We've got it. And we're like, oh, in Sword and Shield, are we just going to be doing another investigation? Like,
yeah,
surely?
Please not. Yeah.
And it wasn't. And I feel like this was... It didn't really... It wasn't as much post-game as much as like the actual story itself, really. Apart from like, your traditional like, beat the Pokemon League, I finished it. But it really was like the story continuing. Because if you just like cut it off without doing that, there's a lot you don't know. You haven't caught the box legendary for a start.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so I was quite surprised when I saw, like, I expected sort of to go into the woods and be like, all right, I'm going to go and catch Zacian. All right, here I go. But no, it had like it really like rounded off Hop's character arc, which
it did.
I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
and
he decided he wanted to be a Pokemon professor.
And he's a really sweet character in the end, I feel like, Hop.
Yeah.
I know like everyone's like, oh, we're talking before how battle him too many times, but after finishing the game, I'm like, it feels weird, but I'm like, I have a nice respect for you. Like,
he had a good arc.
Yeah.
Like his self-discovery was really good.
Mm.
It's like he'd been chasing his brother all this time, but he realized that what he cared about most was being a person of the people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like and that's what his brother does. He's a person of the people.
Mm.
He is the champion of the region, sure, but at the end of the day, what he fights for is for entertainment and, giving people in Galar a reason to smile and train, and, that's what he wanted to do. And Hop can do the same thing. He just needs to do it as a professor.
Mm.
And that's what he realizes, and that's awesome.
Yeah, Sonia takes him under his wing.
Yeah, helping him catch Zamazenta even. It was just like,
so that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
like you catch your box legendary, and he goes off to sort of try and calm down the opposite legendary, which in our case was Zamazenta in Pokemon Sword.
Yeah,
and like when you go back to the Slumbering Woods, what was it called again?
Slumbering
Wields.
Yeah,
Wield. Yeah. And you see him there, just like calmly stroking it, like, oh, this is cool. Like, and yeah, he says, "Oh, I think I'll keep it," and he throws the Pokeball, catches it, and I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome! How like your rival has the opposite legendary."
Yeah.
I think that was really neat. It did sort of jar me a bit when he threw the Pokeball, and he clearly wasn't holding a Pokeball. But that was a bit weird.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like the one like animation thing. I'm like, yeah, he wasn't holding the Pokeball. I don't know what he just threw. But yeah, what do you think about the two characters? What was his name? Swordbert and Shieldbert, or
Swordwood and Shieldbert.
Just really weird. Like at the start, they're like just like really rude and aggressive, but like it's a quick turnaround, being like, "Oh no, we're sorry."
I just like them because it was a good way to take my mind off of what just fucking happened. Just like, look at his fucking stupid hair. Holy shit.
How do you get your hair like that? Just like a big, just like really stick it up like a sword.
Jade's like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about the shield, like, because she was watching it. She's like, I don't know how I feel about Shieldbert, because, like, unless you told me, I couldn't tell that was a shield. But, and then she turned around and was like, but that's definitely a fucking sword. And that's hilarious, because look at him fucking flop around.
See, he's done his job. Clearly showing his hair as a sword. Jesus, yeah. It was really weird, but I really enjoyed sort of...
I just like how they sort of rocked up and they were just the bad guys of the post-game story. And they were like, we're descendants of royalty, so we have claim of things in this region. It's like...
Yeah.
Good to see just some smug dickheads in this game, because throughout the whole game, everybody just ended up being nice.
Yeah. Well, Chairman Rose was a bit of a wally, but yeah.
He was nice, though.
Yeah, he's a nice
He was
wally.
just thinking about the good of Galar. He wasn't... insane. He had a plan and Leon agreed to it and they were going to do it, just not in the middle of a championship match. But then he's like, I can't be bothered waiting, so he did it in the middle of the championship match. It's like, that was your bad deed. Literally, that's what it comes down to. It's like Leon was going to do it in the first place, but that was his bad deed, was doing it in the middle of the championship match. It wasn't even the fact he did it.
Yeah, Jesus.
See, the more you think about it, the worse it gets, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, we'll do it after, and they do it after. That's fine, but just like, don't fucking interrupt our Pokemon battle, for the love of God.
And he did it in the middle of a Pokemon battle. They're just like, oh, so evil. Everybody agreed to it happening. It's just he did it in the middle of the Pokemon match, and that fucking annoyed him.
And so that's fine. Like, yeah, if we can put a stop to it now, great. But it's not that important just yet. It can hold.
Yeah, yeah.
We've made appointments. We're paying the staff at the Pokemon League. Just don't do it now. His staff, mind you. He should be thinking about his rates. It's on a Sunday. Paying $31 an hour. Jesus, doesn't think much at all, does he, Chairman Rose?
The more you think about it, it does. It does just get worse. His evil deed was interrupting a Pokemon League match. It wasn't even the fact that... It wasn't even the fact that he did it.
Well, that's your problem there. You're thinking too much about an evil person in a Pokemon game.
But he's not evil. That's the thing.
He's just a fucking idiot.
He's just a fucking idiot. That's right. And there's no closure to him. But at least with Shieldbert and Swordwood, they had closure.
Fuck. Well, the end of this game, like, what the fuck's going on?
At least they fucking had closure. It was just like, we realised that the error of our ways. And it's just like, alright, we're technically still royalty, so we're not arrested, but we recognise that you are better than us. Alright, see ya.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they had closure. Chairman Rose didn't get that.
No. Oh, well, I guess wrapping up on the story, really enjoyed it. Got to the end. Bit of a head scratcher. Got through it. Good game.
good end game story. It is literally just that. It is literally just that last 2 hours of the story that is just utterly confusing. Because the more you break it down, the less...
Chairman Rose part, yeah.
The more you break it down, the less sense it makes. It's not even that Leon said, no, you can't do this. He said, we will do it after our championship match. But he could not hold his piss any longer. He just had to do it in the middle of the championship match.
I just got a Dynamax and all, boys! Unleash the Dynamax!
Like, Christ, man. We thought the Aether Foundation was bad for acting like the good guys the entire thing after already telling us that they're clearly bad. But
so before you even get the name your character, we literally... You saw us trying to hunt down Nebby.
Yeah.
Before we even named our character. We're obviously bad, but Hi, how you going? But yeah, because just last bit on the story. Before I played the games, watching the Game Explain review, the reviewer pointed out that there's not much to the story about the apart from the league the gym challenge.
Yeah.
And he said that as a negative. I'm like, that actually sounds awesome. And to be fair, I stick by that. I think it's really great.
Yes, so do I.
They stuck away from it, and it just sort of, they could have done such a fucking awesome climax for the Pokemon League.
They could have.
Just have it all like, I expected like your rivals just to be the Elite Four.
Yeah.
Like pretty much, and then get to like having, because a lot of the, especially in the new Pokemon games, you get to the Elite Four. You don't really know them. You don't really get to know them either.
Yeah.
They're just like whatever.
Yeah.
So this could have been a really awesome opportunity to be like the Elite Four, what is essentially the
people
Elite
you
Four.
grew with, yeah.
Yeah, like, and you really know, and would have been really cool, but they sort of like hindered that.
They're really jumbled. Yeah.
Can you go back and challenge Leon and that?
Apparently you can.
I haven't tried.
Apparently you can. According to Barry, anyway. Barry told me.
Good old Barry.
I disagree with him too. I feel like that the gym challenge was the appeal to this. It wasn't even the Darkest Day or, God forbid, Chairman Rose.
Chairman.
Literally the fucking worst bad guy I can think of right now. Like, because it's so fresh in my mind. But anyway.
Yeah. Try not to think about it too much. Yeah. I guess just to wrap this up, because we have just hit 2 hours. I want to talk about the end game. We have sort of dabbled on that we liked it. We like it in this game, but I sort of wanted. This is one of the most important aspects to a Pokemon game for me, because this game spent 20 hours going through the game, which is also mucking around in the wild area and just like catching every Pokemon and mucking around. But the story, I don't just put a Pokemon game down once I've finished it. Yeah, because otherwise, I'll put it down now and I'll have to wait another year. But I really love just like grinding up Pokemon, getting a cool team together, usually taking on a decent challenge with that team outside of just like versing your friends or maybe entering a local tournament or whatever it might be. And X and Y, for example, you beat the Pokemon League, and they're design-wise, there isn't really anywhere to grind your Pokemon up levels. There's no way to really do any of that. And usually in Pokemon games, once you've finished them, unless you took the time to get good natures and good IVs and that throughout the story, which if you did, it would ruin playing through the story for you, because it would just like slow it right down and make it really tedious, then your Pokemon are basically useless for the end game. Yeah. Whereas in this, the end game is very specifically designed to make competitive Pokemon, making them easier to train, make them easier to make viable. Yeah. It's just really smartly done. It is. And the Battle Tower does return in these games. And the Battle Tower, it's always been in Pokemon games, but it's always been pretty meh for me. Yeah. And this is probably the aspect of the game I've only done like a little bit sort of last night, because I thought I better go and test it out. But the Battle Tower it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Just getting your teams together. And I haven't gotten my team competitive yet. I haven't grind enough battle points and that to get the mints to change natures. I'm going to go through and change the natures of my Pokemon so they're actually got decent stats, get some ability capsules and all that. But to get those battle points, to be able to buy those, you need to be actually need to go into the Battle Tower and get points from there. So it's hard to do if your Pokemon aren't good, but they actually offer rental teams to actually like, whether it's just get a taste of competitive play or whatever it is. And I really enjoyed that, just being able to like say, and it gives you an option between like tough teams, skill teams, rain teams. I mean, you can like rent certain ones. Then from that team of 6, you can choose 3 to put in your party. And yeah, I'm like, all right, this is fun. This isn't the Battle Frontier. There's not like a different gimmick for each battle, but it is just pure competitive Pokemon. And it's giving you a great way to experiment with different types of Pokemon, whether it's doing max raid battles, getting the candies to level them up to level 100 literally in 10 minutes if you've got the right equipment. Yeah. Then if you're doing the Battle Tower, you're getting the battle points to get your mints, to get your ability capsules, to swap abilities, to hidden abilities, which is how, because in past games, if you want a hidden ability on your starter's in the bin, you're making an egg.
Yeah.
You're making eggs. You're trying to get that other ability through breeding, which usually I just like get one through like Wonder Trade, which someone's trying to get perfect IVs on. Then I get that hidden ability, then I work that into my breeding.
Yeah.
So I actually got no idea how you initially get that hidden ability unless someone, I don't know. Okay.
They'll probably give out starters with it, but I don't think you can.
Yeah, but sorry, what I'm basically saying is the starter you chose at the start of the game with a crappy nature, normal ability, bad stats. Once you've finished the game, you're doing max raid battles, you're doing the battle tower, you're able to swap its ability, you're able to get its nature right, you're able to max out its IVs with items, which you couldn't previously. With like calcium, zinc and all that, you can only use a certain amount of points.
Yeah.
But now you can max out base stats, which is completely changed the game. You don't have to sit there and grind for hours doing the math, being like, what was it? 4 goldine equals 1 attack. Take down 2 of those, I get 2 attack. In a level, it takes me 100 goldine to like do this, and that'll put that much into my attack. You don't have to do that anymore. You just like you're doing the max raid battles. You're getting the money you need to buy the zinc, the calcium, etc., what you need
the
to put
lime, the rust. Sorry.
Yeah, to put into the certain stats, and that's how you do it. So it's all very much just like resource grinding.
Yeah. Which is fantastic.
And most importantly, doing the max raid battles is fun, and you're discovering new Gigantamax forms from doing that as well. Not just sitting there using the Verse Seeker, battling the same person with chances that gives out most XP out of the game, which has been previous methods of training. Yeah. So I'm happy with it, and thank God.
It's good for the it's good for the competitive battler. In that regard, and
I don't feel like the competitive battler has ever been catered to.
No,
in a post game before.
No,
it's always been such a slog. Like in Sun and Moon, you're just like grinding against nothing.
Yeah,
Like
I'd love to competitively battle, and I've always considered, just really getting my feet into it, but I would never do more than a single party. Because it is so time-consuming in old Pokemon games. It's absolutely awful. Here, it's not time-consuming.
Now you can really experiment.
Yeah.
Which is where the fun comes from.
Yeah,
really experiment. You might
think about the Pachirisu. The Pachirisu in the team that won the doubles tournament in the Worlds. That Pachirisu become a meme and a nightmare for a lot of people.
A Pokemon from nowhere where someone thought of an idea to utilize its strengths.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be really useful in double battles.
Yeah,
and like in the battle tower, because I haven't done much competitive Pokemon, for a couple of generations now. So there's like new tactics that have come out which I haven't learnt about or whatever. And I had a fire form Rotom, and it had a trick, so it swapped What's the item that only locks them into doing 1 attack, and it makes it stronger? I forgot.
Choice Scarf.
Yeah, Choice Scarf. So I had the Choice Scarf, and I had the move Trick, which swaps the held items of the 2 Pokemon.
Yep.
And I used Trick, put the Choice Scarf on the other Pokemon. They did a stat rising move, so I locked them into that, so they couldn't attack me. Then I just wowed on them from there. I'm like, there's so many great ideas that you don't get through doing the normal game.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about a combination of moves, stat rising items, and all that. I think that's where the real fun of Pokemon comes in. Especially if you're sticking around after the story, you're probably someone who wants a bit more from battling. And if you don't want that, and you do just want to collect, you've got a whole Pokedex to fill out as well. Sorry, you don't have a whole Pokedex, but you have a pretty big Pokedex to fill out. And it is made fun doing because you can just catch all of the Pokemon. It's not like a big slog to evolve most of them.
That's right, yeah. And that is the positive here, but it's also going to harm the longevity of the game as a result. It's faster than ever to push these Pokemon up to their max potential, sure. But if you're a person that's just after the collectathon, it's not going to take you 200 hours to do it, or whatever it may be. It's probably going to take you maybe 50 at most.
Because
it's cut.
This is the Monday after the Friday release, I've got almost 300 Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see like, getting the Shield exclusives and all that a bit tricky. Especially with the GTS gone, which we haven't mentioned.
Yeah. All I need to say about that is that was a stupid decision, and if they put it in Pokemon Home under a paid banner, I'm going to be very angry. Because we've had that feature for years.
Yes, since the introduction of
online.
Yeah, Pokemon going online. But yeah. So that's pretty much the end game. Just I can see myself just spending a lot of time doing it, and I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
And these games sort of inspire me to like I want to get into competitive again. I want to start learning.
Yep.
I want to start getting better. I want to start getting a bit more involved with the Pokemon community. The good ones, not the ones who just whinge on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because I can see it being a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it so much back when I did do it, and now that it's got a few more mechanics in there, makes it easier, more accessible, and hopefully people that never thought about never thought about natures, IVs, EVs, all of that stuff, which is like a bit of a head scratcher if you're just playing through the story.
Yeah.
I hope some people actually say, you know what, I am going to give this a go, because it doesn't. I've got all these candies. I can max out my level and get it done pretty well, easy.
Yeah. No, absolutely agree. It is definitely going to help me as somebody that is interested in PvP matters. I love PvE as well, so max raids have done a huge service for me. Just wandering around the wild area and seeing what I can take on, what I can catch, whatever it may be, chucking a stone in a wishing well and seeing what comes out. A wishing well, rather a den. Seeing what comes out. Discovering some of these Pokemon. These Pokemon designs in general have been fantastic. I think.
Oh, we haven't talked about the Pokemon.
We haven't. Look, it's hard because there's so much to talk about, but there's 80 odd Pokemon in there. I think I used 5 new ones.
Who'd you rock on your team? We should probably say that.
I had Inteleon, Eldegoss, Grimmsnarl, Runerigus.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the same.
Center Scorch, who was my star player for the most part, actually. And then I switched around a bunch with the last one from what's his face? Pseudo legendary.
I forgot its name too. Yeah, the names have not cemented in my head.
No, not yet. Yeah, and that's the thing, is taking time to remember them. Dragapult. There you go. But I also had something else on my team that I was using on occasion. I can't remember at this exact moment, but I've sort of been very much swapping in and out as I've sort of seen designs that I've liked better and what it may be, because it's really easy to do that now. Just chuck some XP candies on it and move on.
Yeah, and going through the story, it was fun to do that as well. But you get enough XP that you can just do it.
Yeah,
and the game's a bit easier, but that is it makes it a bit more fun that you can just be a bit more experimental, especially since there are so many Pokemon to choose from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a Rillaboom, Alcremie, Obstagoon, Corviknight, what's his name? Boltund.
Yeah.
Boltund. Who was my last one? Can't remember. Actually, can't remember.
Lost it.
Yeah. But yeah, I locked them in pretty early. I locked them in even before the first gym. I had all 6.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, I like these. I'll stick with them.
Yeah. I tried to not keep myself locked in. I kind of locked in some cemented ones as I went along. I'm like, yes, I'm definitely having that on my team. And then I just filled in the rest. And then if I found something I liked better than those fills, I just pushed on. There was only one Pokemon, apart from my starter, obviously, that I was absolutely guaranteed where I'm like, yes, I want that. And that was Center Scorch.
Colossal.
That's right. Yeah, Colossal.
And that's one of my...
That's literally one of your star players.
That is definitely one of my star players.
What is it with us forgetting our star players?
Yeah, I don't know. Our fire types.
Literally. But it's sort of just when I saw Center Scorch in the leaks, I was like, I want that. I want that Firebug.
Yeah.
Like we had Volcarona, and Volcarona was like amazing. I'm like, I wonder how this thing could be, and it's just as good.
So good. Gigantamax form is whoa.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
so awesome.
It's like a scorpion dragon.
But then like there's other Pokemon in there that like I really considered and wanted, like, you know, Appleton and Flapple.
Yeah,
for example.
They like when I first caught a glimpse in the leaks, I didn't actually see it that much. I'm like, oh, and I like skimmed up on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it was, and I think it was a Jim Sterling video. He didn't actually show a picture, but he's just like, I think he made like a satire video about that there's no national dex. It was basically a video of him being like, there's no Ekans, so this game is shit. Because Ekans is his favourite Pokemon. It's like, yeah. And, you know, the reason why there's no Ekans, because there's this other fucking thing. And it's like the ground snake. What was its name? Silicobra?
Yeah, Silicobra.
Silicobra. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, because of this fucking thing. It was really funny. And, I don't know where I was going now. Better wrap this up. Falling asleep.
But yeah, I guess just with Pokemon designs in general,
they're all great.
They're all great.
Yeah,
you know, and that's kind of the more depressing thing in this is that.
Oh, sorry, I remember where I was going. Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah.
The kind of depressing thing in all this is that, like, I would love to see some of these designs working with Pokemon that I've used in the past that would probably fit a really good bill, but I can't. You know, it's like all these new designs come out, and like I could really see that on, you know, one of my professionals teams working with my, I don't know, for example, Crocodile in this way or whatever it may be, and then it's just like, but I can't do that. I have to look for something else that sort of fits a similar bill, and it's kind of annoying, frustrating, and I think that's the thing that upsets me most about it, is that when I'm building teams in this game that's really good for building competitive Pokemon teams, I can't access the ones that I love.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, I'm losing track of mine because it is like 11:30 and I haven't slept that much for the last few days because I'm playing fucking Pokemon. But yeah, he's just like, yeah, there's literally a Pokemon based on a fucking apple. I'm like, yeah, I did say that. That is weird. It's like an apple, but in the actual game where you see it and it goes around the back, there's like a grub going into the apple, and like its eyes poking up are like the leaves. I'm like, that is an absolutely brilliant designed Pokemon. Like, yeah, it's not just an apple. It's like really cool. And when it evolves, like in Sword, it evolves into Flapple, which is like, it's a dragon which basically just bursts out the apple and starts flapping like the bits of apple on its arms and it flies around like that. But that is just. Then there's Appleton or whatever in Sword. And Shield, sorry, and it's just like a big apple pie. It's just like it's just a real bulky apple pie. Yeah, I'm like, that is such a cool premise for a Pokemon, like a dragon, a little wee dragon that is useless, so it's hiding in an apple, and when it evolves,
more effective.
And when it evolves, it sort of like stays in the apple in different ways.
Yeah,
like I think that's a lot smarter than say Vanillux or so, which is like, oh, it's an ice cream, but it's a icicle.
Yeah,
I'm not bagging that Pokemon, but I'm just saying like this one especially, like based on a food or
that's
an item
right.
or whatever. Like this is fantastic.
Yeah, but a hell of a lot of sense. Imagine what it looks like under the apple.
Just like a little green little grub.
A worm with gigantic eyes.
Yeah,
kind of like the blip bug.
Oh yeah.
That's the one jarring design I have in my head at the moment, is because Blip Bug looks like it's been squashed horizontally. I don't know why. It does. It just really confuses me. But I'm really intrigued about Orbeetle and how it works, because it's like a sort of fairly defensive psychic type.
Yeah, so psychic bug. So that's a type we haven't seen before, I believe.
Not what I can think of
the top of my head anyway.
No.
Only psychic bug in this game anyway. So.
Well, we've only ever seen like bugs that can use psychic moves, I feel, like Venomoth. Never really.
Yeah, like Butterfree, like a lot of them can.
Yeah, just never actually a psychic bug. There's a lot of good bug types in this game.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a nice little choice. Bug Psychic Fire. Bug Psychic, Bug Fire. Uh,
There was a whole bunch of them. I was
those two alone were pretty great. Yeah,
They are. There is more. There's definitely more.
you got Butterfree, which is a bug poison, no bug flying. Sorry.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a good selection of bugs. Like A Drive on YouTube, he's doing like a bug lock.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So if you want to make the game harder because you think it's too easy, just play through, like make your own challenges like that.
Solo type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get to one point where it just like stomps you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely squash.
Mm. All right, Bryce. Let's finish this up. We've probably taken too much of people's time already, but this, regardless of how entertaining it was, it's something we definitely need to just get off our chests. 8 months of like talking about this game, really looking forward to it, but being worried and frustrated every time we talk about it. It was hard not to bring up the controversies what were going around it.
Yeah.
As fans, and I think at the end of the day, it's a great Pokemon game. It's a great Pokemon game, and
it's a Pokemon game with flaws.
Oh yeah, there's definitely flaws. Yeah,
It's a good Pokemon game. Definitely one with flaws. It's not the best one out there for sure, but if you want to experience Pokemon in a light that is, I suppose, closer to what it really should be for a modern age RPG, this is definitely a step forward. It's not a step back as much as people wanted to make you believe during the leaks. The cut of the decks was irritating. There was a couple of drawbacks in areas where it just feels like it was maybe a little bit too rushed, but overall, just with max raids and how the battle tower functions for the end game, like that in itself sort of lends it as
the combination of the battle tower and the wild area together.
Yeah, it's a good way to not only get your PvE fix, but you get a PvP fix as well out of the rewards, which is good. The story on the lead up all the way up to the end is really good. It's just a shame that the last hour and a half really kills it. The post game story's neat and good, and it's a much better tie off to the end of the story. So I'm glad they didn't end it with just what it was in the story. And yeah.
So you said not one of the best in the series.
I don't think it's. No, I don't think it is.
No. We're 4 days in. I'm not going to say it's the best in the series, but it's definitely up there because what this game is that it's the core of Pokemon. It's discovery, it's catching, collecting, it's raising Pokemon, and it's really just drilled down to the core of what makes Pokemon special. And it's got all of that wrapped in charm, which is also the core of Pokemon. And if I was going to play a Pokemon game today, I've got my favorites. I've got Gen 3. But these games do the aspects better. You're able to jump in there. You got a choice of a nice selection of Pokemon, nice, well-rounded, and you're able to really experiment throughout the story. And the story doesn't fuck around too much. You're just collecting badges, and you're trying to be the best. And until the end, where like Chairman Rose decides to go like
fucking ape shit for no
ape
reason.
shit. Like, well, calm down. It's the day. But apart from that, you get back to it. You become the champion, and you're not overrun with dumb legendaries. You got 3 very strong legendaries, who the lore is, good enough to be believable. Yeah. They could have obviously fleshed it out more, but it's enough to understand what they represent. So definitely, if you're looking for a Pokemon game, and well, for a start, if you haven't bought it already and you've listened to an hour and a half of us talking about it, I doubt you haven't got it. But if you're someone who's like, oh yeah, I've got a Switch and I play Pokemon on DS, but I don't really play that much, I'll definitely say get this one. I wouldn't say go back to another one. And I think it's definitely a foot in the right direction for the series.
In some ways.
In some ways,
yes.
Well,
as much as I do agree with pretty much all those points, at the end of the day, the reason it's not my favorite or in my top favorites is because there are great ideas presented that need more fleshing or balancing. That I know that they're not going to do through updates. I'm 100% certain they're not going to.
No, they said they're not, so no, they won't.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, the lack of Pokemon, there's not all of them there and stuff like that. There is a whole bunch of content that we've had plenty of times in the past that isn't there. There is stuff in there that does feel a little bit rushed in how it's presented, and that is including the story. So,
yeah, and
right at the end,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and like there's some areas. What's the fairy gym? Where's that town?
Opal's gym. I can't remember its town name though.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. That town is gorgeous, for example. Then there's other places where you're like, oh my god, looks a bit. So yeah,
looks a bit whatever.
So yeah. As far as like some areas being rushed, like yeah, I can see that. But yeah, these are if I was going to rate them, I would give them an 8. I think they're great games, and they've made someone like myself who hasn't been happy with a Pokemon game in the last 8 years since they've been 3D, and that's including remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, which were games I've been wanting for ages. Remakes of my favorite games, and I feel like they just
dropped the ball,
just pooped them out.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, okay, and now it's to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep playing Sword and Shield, for as long as they're relevant, until the next Pokemon game comes out.
Don't say that just yet. It's only been a couple of days. Remember that. Just remember that. It only has been a couple of days. I do agree that I'll probably keep playing these for a while myself as well, but I do feel like max raids will eventually have their usefulness depleted, and all of a sudden, like, we're going to have to be building competitive teams, and depending on how long we can stay motivated with that, will be highly dependent.
Well, I mean, like, once we have our team set up, it'll be almost like playing Smash Bros. Pick it up, battle who we got to battle, like wherever it is, whether we battle each other or battle like going versus other people, whatever it is, do online tournaments. But then we put it down and we're not grinding because we've already done it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on how far you want to go into competitive battling. You can keep building Pokemon and keep doing that over and over and over, and it gives you the opportunity to do that really well. But it needs to keep you engaged, and like while they've got us engaged now, I think it will depend on how they handle events and stuff like that, because there are Pokemon in the game that are programmed in there, but you literally can't get them yet, and that is including from like they might come from home, or they might put them in max raid battles or something like that. We don't know how they're going to handle it yet because they've said nothing about it.
Well, yeah, that's like a few of the legendaries from other regions and
Squirtle
and Bulbasaur.
Yeah, they're all in there. They've been, and people have hacked them into the game. They're there. Expect to see some Squirtles and Blastoises and Venusaurs and all that running around and online, because people have already got them in there. They'll just trade them over.
Yeah, it's probably don't accept one.
No,
it's going to be hacked.
You could get in trouble. Yeah.
Anyway, we won't take any more of your time. Thank you very much for listening to House of Mario episode 122, where we got to finally
play the biggest game of the year.
And we don't do this for every game that comes out. Actually, we haven't done it for any games that have come out this year have this much of a discussion. Like Luigi's Mansion, we talk about it for 20 minutes. It's fun. It's a cool game. Move on. But this is one of the series we're really passionate about. Zelda's one of them, Mario's one of them, Pokemon's one of them. There's like a few Nintendo series we're personally very invested in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people would want to hear about anyway. Like, the thing is when it comes down to the end of the day, again, Luigi's Mansion, Fire Emblem, all that stuff, there is a nichety to them, and I enjoy them very much, but I don't think I could talk about them for the same length of time as I could Pokemon.
And there's other people out there too. I remember Tam, he was saying that when they introduced basically non-permadeath into Fire Emblem, he was like, oh, yuck, who plays like that? And then it's me like, oh, I wouldn't play with permadeath on because I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, I couldn't think about losing characters.
And there's people that approach Pokemon like that as well.
Yeah.
And that's why when the whole Pokedex thing come up, I'm like, oh, I get that, because I'm like that with other series. So it's all good. It's all good. And I'm so happy we could say we enjoyed the games.
Yeah.
And we enjoyed ourselves. and we can move on. We
Yeah.
can move on.
Yeah.
Game Freak. I think their messages were like why. Actually, very quickly, when Sakurai said the trophies weren't coming to Smash Ultimate, no one gave a shit, and he gave like the same reasons Game Freak are giving for the Pokemon. Just the actual Pokemon are obviously more important than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you gave it an 8. I think I'll give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I think they're great games.
They're nowhere
games.
near or even close to as much as a train wreck as people were trying to make them out to be during the leaks.
People were actually hacking them during the leaks
Yeah, I know.
to actually like make them look worse. It's like that is the next level of being like petty.
Is there proof of that though? I keep hearing that, but I don't know if there's actual physical proof.
There was footage getting around of it like being real.
Because people said that about the ladder thing. They're like, people hacked it so that the ladder would stop. But no, that happens in the actual game. That's full of shit.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much to believe of that. I can't believe that people would have their hands on their games for a week and crack it right open just to make it look worse. For cheating, yeah, I can see that. But to make them look worse, nah. People this week got their hands on it, I suppose, and they managed to program a better tree in the game.
Did they?
Yeah, in less than an hour. Just saying. So, you know, and it didn't hinder the performance. So,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm literally scratching my head.
Anyway, Bryce, yeah, everyone, thank you very much for listening. It's 11:30.
I've got to go home and wash my work clothes.
I've had like barely any sleep, and I'm really feeling it now. Yep. So I do want to encourage people to join our Discord. I really want to start like talking about Pokemon, getting trades, battles, and all that going on. We've got people in there who are really keen and passionate about Pokemon already. Everyone except for Luke, I think. And if Luke, he listened to the last episode and he accepted our apology for talking a lot about Pokemon. Now I'm just going to put this out there, Luke. If you listen to 2.5 hours of us talking about Pokemon Sword and Shield, I will buy you a beer. I'll buy you fucking 3 beers next time if you say on Discord
that you heard
if you heard this.
Yeah.
And Meadow or anyone else in the Discord, I don't want you.
Don't tell him.
I don't want you. Telling him.
Don't tell him.
Make
please.
him earn those beers. He likes Furphy now. He's had a couple of Furfies. So anyway, yeah. Join the Discord because I need, especially if I have Shield, because I need the Shield exclusives. Just saying. So Bryce, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Ivy Raven.
You can find me at iDruby and the show at the House of Mario. And this week's Nintendo Jukebox is a remix of the Pokemon Sword and Shield Gym Leader remix, and it's by Camex on SoundCloud. Check out his profile in the show notes below. And until next week, where we can talk about something that isn't Pokemon, but we might talk about it anyway. See you next week.
Bye.